You are about to hear a straightforward plan for taking control of your attention and your life in 2026. This audiobook will show practical steps for protecting your time, calming your mind, and building real habits that last. Imagine waking up with less noise in your head, noticing how your breathing steadies and your phone no longer pulls you away from what matters. You will learn how to make small daily choices that add up to real change, how to use silence to think more clearly, and how to protect your energy from constant distraction. Each chapter gives clear actions you can use today, routines that fit into a busy life and ways to respond calmly when pressure rises. This is not motivation for one day, it is a method for every day. Stay with the whole video to hear simple exercises, real examples, and a plan you can follow step by step so your progress is private, steady, and real. If you want less chaos, more focus, and the confidence to build your life without showing off, this audiobook will guide you there. Chapter 1 Scene: Build unwavering focus through daily intentional self-discipline. Focus is not something you suddenly find one morning. It is something you build slowly through what you choose to do every single day, especially when no one is watching. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, staying focused has become a rare skill. Notifications never stop. Opinions are everywhere. People are always reacting, posting, explaining, and proving. This constant noise makes it easy to feel busy while achieving very little. Real focus is different. Real focus feels quiet. It feels steady. It feels like knowing what matters and refusing to be pulled away from it. This chapter is about building that kind of focus through daily intentional self-discipline, not through motivation, not through hype, but through calm, consistent action. Self-discipline is often misunderstood. Many people think it means being harsh or rigid. That idea pushes people away before they even begin. In truth, self-discipline is about self-respect. It is about deciding that your time, your energy, and your attention are valuable and should not be wasted. When discipline comes from respect rather than punishment, it becomes easier to practice. You stop forcing yourself and start guiding yourself. You stop chasing bursts of motivation and start building stable habits. Focus grows naturally from that foundation. Unwavering focus does not mean you never feel distracted. It means you notice distraction without letting it control you. It means you return to what matters again and again. Each return strengthens your focus like a muscle. This happens through small daily choices. Waking up when you said you would. Starting a task even when you feel resistance. Finishing what you start. Choosing rest with intention instead of escape. These actions may seem simple, but over time they shape your identity. You become someone who does what they decide to do. That identity is the root of focus. The first step in building intentional self-discipline is clarity. You cannot focus if you do not know what deserves your focus. Many people feel scattered because they are trying to give attention to too many things at once. Their goals are vague. Their priorities change daily. Their schedule is reactive. To build focus, you must decide what matters most in this season of your life. Not everything, not someday, right now. This requires honesty. You may want many things, but focus asks you to choose a few. When you choose, you are not giving up the rest forever. You are simply giving yourself permission to go deep instead of wide. Once priorities are clear, discipline becomes about alignment. Your daily actions must reflect what you say matters. If health matters, daily movement and mindful eating must exist. If growth matters, time for learning must be protected. If peace matters, unnecessary conflict and constant consumption must be reduced. Focus breaks when actions and values do not match. You feel pulled in different directions because part of you knows you are avoiding what matters. Discipline brings relief because it removes that inner conflict. Daily intentional discipline starts with the morning. The way you begin your day sets the tone for your attention. Reaching for your phone immediately hands control to the outside world. Messages, news, and social content shape your thoughts before you choose them. A disciplined morning creates space between waking up and reacting. This space can be quiet. It can be simple, sitting still for a few minutes, taking deep breaths, stretching, writing a short list of what matters today. These small acts center your attention inward before you give it outward. Over time, this practice trains your mind to lead instead of follow. Another important part of discipline is managing energy rather than forcing effort. Focus is easier when your body and mind are supported. Sleep, movement, hydration, and simple nutrition all play a role. Ignoring these basics makes discipline feel like a battle. Respecting them makes discipline feel natural. When you take care of your body, your mind becomes clearer. Decisions become easier. Distractions lose some of their pull. This is not about perfection. It is about consistency. Small supportive actions done daily are more powerful than extreme efforts done occasionally. Intentional discipline also means creating boundaries. Focus cannot survive without them. Boundaries are decisions made in advance. They reduce the number of choices you must make in the moment. For example, deciding when you check messages, deciding how long you work without interruption, deciding when you stop working for the day. These boundaries protect your attention. They also protect your peace. Without boundaries, other people and external demands will always fill your time. Discipline allows you to say no without guilt because you know what you are saying yes to. A common challenge is emotional resistance. Some days, the task feels heavy. The mind looks for escape. Discipline does not remove these feelings. It teaches you how to move forward despite them. Instead of arguing with resistance, you acknowledge it and continue calmly. You remind yourself that discomfort does not mean danger. It means growth. Each time you act without waiting for the perfect feeling, you weaken the power of resistance. Focus becomes less emotional and more habitual. You stop negotiating with yourself and start acting with quiet confidence. One powerful practice is committing to small daily standards. These are simple rules you follow regardless of mood. Reading a few pages, writing a short paragraph, exercising for a set amount of time, cleaning a small area. These standards are not impressive on their own. Their power comes from repetition. They reduce decision fatigue. They build trust with yourself. When you know you will follow through, focus becomes stable. You are no longer dependent on bursts of motivation. You rely on your standards. Another key aspect of discipline is learning to work without immediate reward. Modern life conditions people to expect quick feedback. Likes, messages, and instant results train the brain to crave stimulation. Deep focus often feels unrewarding at first. Progress is slow. Results are invisible. Discipline teaches patience. It teaches you to value the process rather than constant confirmation. Over time, this rewires your relationship with effort. You begin to find satisfaction in showing up, not just in outcomes. Silence also plays a role in building focus, even at this early stage. Silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the absence of unnecessary input. Reducing noise allows your thoughts to settle. It allows you to hear your own direction. This can feel uncomfortable at first. Many people avoid silence because it brings awareness. Discipline involves staying present with that awareness instead of running from it. In silence, you learn what distracts you and why. That understanding strengthens your focus. Self-discipline also includes forgiving yourself without lowering standards. Some days will not go as planned. Discipline is not broken by a single missed action. It is broken by giving up after a mistake. The disciplined response is to reset quickly. No drama, no harsh self-talk. Simply return to the next small action. This approach builds resilience. It teaches you that progress is not fragile. Focus strengthens when you stop turning setbacks into stories about failure. Daily intentional discipline benefits from structure. Structure does not limit freedom. It creates it. When your day has a clear flow, your mind wastes less energy deciding what to do next. Time blocks, routines, and simple schedules support focus by reducing chaos. Structure should be realistic. It should support your life, not fight it. The goal is not to control every minute, but to create enough order that important work has a place to exist. It is also important to limit mental clutter. Too many goals, too many plans, and too many ideas can overwhelm focus. Writing things down helps. Keeping a simple list of priorities clears space in your mind. Reviewing this list daily reinforces direction. Discipline includes choosing not to act on every thought. Not every idea deserves attention. Not every urge deserves action. Learning to observe thoughts without following them strengthens focus more than trying to eliminate them. Another practice that supports discipline is reflection. At the end of the day, taking a few moments to review your actions builds awareness. What supported focus today? What distracted you? What small adjustment could improve tomorrow? This is not about judgment, it is about learning. Reflection turns experience into insight. Insight turns repetition into improvement. Over time, this creates a feedback loop that strengthens discipline naturally. Building focus also requires reducing internal noise. Negative self-talk, constant comparison, and unrealistic expectations drain attention. Discipline includes choosing supportive thoughts. When you notice harsh inner dialogue, you replace it with calm factual statements. You remind yourself of progress made. You focus on effort rather than perfection. This mental discipline protects focus by reducing emotional distractions. Intentional discipline means acting with purpose even in small moments. How you handle waiting, boredom, and quiet moments matters. These are opportunities to strengthen focus rather than escape it. Choosing not to reach for constant stimulation trains patience. It teaches your mind that it does not need to be entertained at all times. This ability to be still supports deeper concentration when it matters. Over time, daily discipline reshapes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to focus and start seeing yourself as someone who is focused. This shift is powerful. Actions follow identity. When discipline becomes part of who you are, focus becomes effortless. You no longer need to prove anything. You move with quiet certainty. As the year progresses, the world will continue to demand your attention. Trends will change. Opinions will multiply. Noise will increase. The skill you build through daily intentional discipline will protect you. Focus will allow you to move forward without being pulled into unnecessary conflict or distraction. Silence will become a companion rather than a void. Progress will feel steady rather than chaotic. The purpose of focus is not isolation. It is alignment. When you are focused, your actions reflect your values. Your energy is directed rather than scattered. Your growth becomes visible through consistency rather than announcements. Discipline creates a calm strength that others can feel without you needing to explain it. This chapter is not about becoming extreme or detached. It is about becoming intentional. It is about choosing your direction and honoring it daily. Through small acts of discipline, you reclaim control over your attention. Through repetition, focus becomes stable. Through patience, results follow naturally. Every day offers a new opportunity to practice. Each moment of choice strengthens or weakens your focus. Choose actions that respect your goals. Choose silence when noise offers nothing. Choose effort when comfort tries to distract you. Over time, these choices shape a life built on clarity and self-trust. Unwavering focus is not a gift given to a few. It is a skill built by anyone willing to practice daily intentional self-discipline. Start small. Stay consistent. Remain patient. Let focus grow quietly. Let discipline guide you steadily. This is how meaningful change begins, and this is how it lasts. Chapter 20. Practice silence to protect energy and sharpen decisions. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, withdrawal, or avoidance, but in reality it is one of the strongest tools a person can develop. Silence is not about disappearing or refusing to engage with life. It is about choosing when to speak, when to react, and when to step back so your energy is not drained by things that do not deserve it. In a world where everyone feels pressure to comment, explain, defend, and respond instantly, practicing silence becomes an act of control. It allows you to stay grounded while others exhaust themselves chasing attention or approval. Energy is limited. Every conversation, argument, explanation, and reaction takes something from you. Many people give away their energy without noticing. They argue with strangers, explain themselves to people who are not listening, and react emotionally to situations they cannot control. By the end of the day, they feel tired without having done anything meaningful. Silence interrupts this pattern. It creates a pause between stimulus and response. In that pause, you regain ownership of your energy. Practicing silence does not mean suppressing emotions. It means processing them privately instead of leaking them publicly. When something triggers you, The urge to speak immediately is often driven by emotion, not clarity. Silence gives emotions time to settle. When emotions settle, decisions improve. You stop reacting and start choosing. This shift alone can prevent countless mistakes, conflicts, and regrets. Silence sharpens decisions because it removes noise. When you talk too much, you often think while speaking. This leads to unclear statements, unnecessary commitments, and promises you later regret. Silence allows thinking to happen first. You observe, you reflect, you consider outcomes. Then, if speaking is necessary, your words are fewer and stronger. People who practice silence are often taken more seriously because they do not waste words. There is also power in not revealing everything about yourself. Oversharing weakens focus and drains energy. When you constantly explain your plans, struggles, or next moves, you invite opinions that can confuse you. Not all advice is helpful. Not all feedback is supportive. Silence protects your direction. It allows your plans to grow without interference. You move at your own pace instead of adjusting based on outside voices. Silence also teaches you how to listen. Most people listen only to respond. When you choose silence, you listen to understand. You notice patterns in how people speak and behave. You learn who respects you and who only listens when it benefits them. This awareness sharpens judgment. Better judgment leads to better decisions in relationships, work, and daily life. One of the most practical ways to practice silence is to stop responding immediately. Delay your replies. Not every message requires instant attention. Giving yourself time before responding reduces emotional reactions and increases clarity. You begin to notice which conversations matter and which ones drain you. Over time, people adjust to your pace. You train others to respect your boundaries without needing to announce them. Another practice is choosing silence during conflict. Arguments often escalate because both sides want to win, not understand. Silence prevents escalation. It forces space. In that space, emotions cool. Many conflicts dissolve when one person refuses to feed them. This does not mean tolerating disrespect. It means choosing timing and approach wisely. Responding later with calm words is more effective than reacting in the heat of the moment. Silence is also essential for internal clarity. Constant external input leaves no room for self-awareness. When you reduce talking and consumption, you start hearing your own thoughts. This can feel uncomfortable at first. The mind may feel restless. This restlessness is a sign of dependency on noise. Staying with silence trains mental strength. Over time, calm replaces restlessness. You become comfortable with your own presence. Practicing silence improves self-respect. When you stop explaining yourself unnecessarily, you communicate confidence. You no longer feel the need to justify your choices to everyone. You trust your judgment. This quiet confidence is felt by others. It does not demand attention, yet it commands respect. People sense when someone is grounded and not easily shaken. Silence also protects your long-term goals. Many goals fail because they are exposed too early. Sharing plans can create false satisfaction. Talking about goals releases some of the motivation needed to act. Silence keeps motivation intact. It turns focus inward. You let progress speak instead of promises. Results replace explanations. In daily life, silence can be practiced in simple ways. Choosing not to comment on everything, letting others have the last word. Walking away from conversations that add no value. Turning off unnecessary notifications. Spending time alone without distractions. These actions may seem small, but they change how you experience your day. You feel less drained. You think more clearly. You act more intentionally. Silence also helps you observe your own behavior. When you talk less, you notice why you want to talk. Is it to seek validation? Is it to release frustration? Is it to impress? This awareness is powerful. It allows you to address needs directly instead of masking them with noise. Emotional maturity grows in silence. Sharpening decisions requires space. Silence creates that space. Decisions made in calm are rarely regretted. Decisions made in emotional noise often are. When you slow down your responses, you increase accuracy. You stop rushing into commitments. You choose based on values rather than pressure. This protects your time and energy over the long term. Silence also reduces stress. Many people carry stress because they feel obligated to engage constantly. They fear missing out or being misunderstood. Silence removes this pressure. You accept that not everyone needs access to you. You accept that not every misunderstanding needs correction. Peace replaces tension when you let go of unnecessary engagement. Practicing silence does not isolate you. It improves connection. When you do speak, your words carry weight. Conversations become more meaningful. You are present instead of scattered. Listening deepens relationships more than constant talking ever could. Silence allows space for others to reveal themselves fully. Over time, silence becomes a habit. You stop reacting automatically. You pause. You choose. This habit strengthens emotional control and decision-making. You become less predictable and more composed. Situations that once drained you lose their power. You remain steady even when others are chaotic. This chapter is about reclaiming your energy. Silence is not passive. It is active restraint. It is choosing not to leak energy through unnecessary words and reactions. It is choosing clarity over chaos. Every moment of silence strengthens your ability to act wisely. As you move through the year, practice silence daily. Before responding, pause. Before speaking, consider impact. Before reacting, breathe. Protect your energy as something valuable. Let silence sharpen your decisions. Over time, you will notice fewer regrets, stronger boundaries, and deeper focus. This quiet strength will support every area of your life without needing to announce itself. Chapter 30. Clarify personal goals and remove distracting commitments. Most people feel overwhelmed not because they lack ability, but because they are committed to too many things that do not truly matter to them. Their days are full, yet their progress feels empty. This happens when goals are unclear and commitments are inherited rather than chosen. Clarifying personal goals is not about adding more ambition to your life. It is about removing confusion. It is about deciding what deserves your effort and what quietly steals it. When goals are clear, focus becomes natural. When commitments are misaligned, even simple tasks feel heavy. Many people confuse activity with direction. They stay busy to avoid uncomfortable questions about where they are actually going. Clarifying goals requires honesty. It asks you to look at your life as it is, not as you explain it to others. What are you working toward right now? What are you sacrificing time and energy for? What results do you want to see by the end of this year? These questions are uncomfortable because they remove excuses. They force responsibility. That discomfort is the doorway to clarity. Personal goals must come from values, not pressure. Too many goals are shaped by comparison, expectations, or fear of falling behind. These goals drain energy because they are not connected to your inner direction. When a goal is truly yours, effort feels meaningful even when it is difficult. Clarifying goals means stripping away what you think you should want and identifying what actually matters to you. This requires time alone, reflection, and distance from outside opinions. A practical way to begin is to define what improvement looks like in your life. Not perfection. Improvement. In your health, your skills, your finances, your peace, your relationships. You do not need detailed plans at first. You need direction. Direction gives your days purpose. Without it, distractions easily take control. When direction is clear, distractions lose their appeal because they no longer align with where you are going. Once goals are clear, the next step is examining commitments. Commitments are promises you make with your time. Some are chosen. Many are accepted without thought. Saying yes too often creates a life that serves everyone except you. Removing distracting commitments is not selfish. It is necessary. Every unnecessary obligation takes energy away from what matters most. If your goals are important, they deserve protected space. This process requires courage. Some commitments exist because of guilt, habit, or fear of disappointing others. Letting them go may feel uncomfortable. That discomfort is temporary. Living misaligned with your goals creates a deeper and lasting discomfort. Choosing alignment means accepting short-term unease for long-term peace. Over time, people adjust to your boundaries. You do not owe everyone access to your time. Clarity improves decision-making. When you know your priorities, choices become easier. You stop debating every opportunity. You measure it against your goals. If it supports them, you consider it. If it distracts from them, you decline without resentment. This reduces mental fatigue. It also builds confidence because your actions reflect intention rather than impulse. Removing distractions also includes internal commitments. Many people carry outdated promises to themselves, goals that no longer fit who they are, expectations formed years ago that create pressure today. Clarifying goals allows you to update your direction. Growth requires letting go of old identities. You are allowed to change your focus as you gain clarity. This is not inconsistency, it is maturity. Distractions are not always obvious. They often appear productive. Extra projects, social obligations, constant availability. These activities feel responsible, yet they scatter attention. Clarifying goals exposes which activities move you forward and which keep you busy. This awareness changes how you schedule your time. You begin to allocate energy intentionally instead of reactively. A useful practice is reviewing your week honestly. Where does your time go? Which activities support your goals? Which ones exist out of habit or obligation? This review is not about judgment, it is about awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates change. Without awareness, distractions remain invisible and continue to drain you. Clarifying goals also improves motivation. When you know why you are doing something, effort feels lighter. You stop forcing yourself and start aligning yourself. Even difficult tasks feel manageable when they are connected to a clear purpose. Without purpose, discipline feels empty. With purpose, discipline feels meaningful. Another important aspect is learning to separate urgent from important. Urgent demands shout for attention. Important goals often speak quietly. Clarifying goals trains you to listen to what matters rather than what is loudest. This shift changes how you respond to daily pressure. You stop letting emergencies dictate your direction. You plan around what truly matters. Removing distracting commitments also improves emotional clarity. Many emotional burdens come from overcommitment. Saying yes when you want to say no creates resentment. That resentment leaks into your behavior and mindset. Choosing commitments intentionally reduces inner conflict. You feel lighter because your actions align with your intentions. Clarifying goals is not a one-time exercise. It is an ongoing process. As you grow, your priorities evolve. Regular reflection keeps your direction current. This prevents stagnation. It also prevents burnout. Burnout often comes from chasing goals that no longer align with who you are. When goals are clear and commitments are aligned, focus deepens naturally. You stop multitasking. You give full attention to fewer things. Progress becomes visible. Confidence grows from consistency rather than external validation. You trust yourself because your actions match your intentions. This clarity also improves relationships. When you know your priorities, you communicate boundaries calmly. You stop over-explaining. You respect your time and expect others to do the same. This does not create distance, it creates respect. Healthy relationships adjust to clarity. As you move forward, remember that clarity simplifies life. It removes unnecessary noise. It allows you to invest deeply rather than spread thinly. Clarifying personal goals and removing distracting commitments is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with full attention. Take time to define your direction. Be honest about what no longer serves you. Release commitments that drain you without guilt. Protect the space needed for your goals to grow. When your life is aligned with your priorities, effort feels purposeful and progress feels steady. This clarity becomes a foundation for everything that follows. Chapter 4c. Create a simple routine that compounds progress daily. Progress rarely comes from dramatic changes. It comes from small actions repeated until they become part of who you are. A simple routine is not boring or limiting. It is stabilizing. It removes guesswork from your days and replaces chaos with quiet order. When your routine is simple and intentional, progress compounds naturally because you stop relying on mood and start relying on structure. This chapter is about building that structure in a way that supports growth instead of overwhelming you. Many people fail not because they lack desire, but because they expect too much from themselves all at once. They design complex routines that look impressive on paper, but collapse in real life. Complexity creates resistance. Simplicity creates consistency. A routine should feel doable even on difficult days. If it only works when you feel motivated, It is not a routine. A strong routine works when energy is low and focus is tested. A simple routine starts with understanding your natural rhythm. Every person has times of higher clarity and times of lower energy. Ignoring this leads to frustration. Working with it creates flow. Pay attention to when you feel most alert. That is when your most important work should happen. Less demanding tasks can be placed in slower periods. This alignment reduces friction and makes discipline easier to maintain. The purpose of a routine is not to control every minute, it is to protect the essentials. A few daily actions done consistently outperform scattered effort over time. Reading a few pages daily builds knowledge. Moving your body daily builds strength. Working on a skill daily builds mastery. These actions may feel small, but their impact grows quietly. This is how progress compounds. One mistake many people make is constantly changing their routine. They mistake novelty for improvement. A routine needs time to work. Results often appear slowly at first. The value is not always visible in the beginning. Trusting the process requires patience. Staying consistent even when progress feels invisible is what separates lasting growth from short-term effort. A strong routine reduces mental fatigue. When actions are planned, you do not waste energy deciding what to do next. This frees attention for deeper focus. Decision fatigue is one of the biggest drains on productivity. Simplicity preserves mental clarity. The fewer choices you make daily, the more energy you have for meaningful work. Another benefit of routine is emotional stability. When life feels uncertain, routine provides grounding. It becomes something you can rely on regardless of external circumstances. This stability supports resilience. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you show up each day. That sense of control builds confidence over time. Creating a routine also requires honesty about capacity. Overloading your schedule leads to burnout. A routine should challenge you without exhausting you. It should support progress without sacrificing health or peace. This balance is personal. Comparing routines with others leads to unrealistic expectations. What matters is consistency, not intensity. A practical approach is to anchor your routine around a few non-negotiable actions. These are small habits that align with your goals and are easy to maintain. Once these anchors are stable, you can build around them. Without anchors, routines drift. Anchors keep you grounded even when days become unpredictable. Routine also helps reduce procrastination. When an action is scheduled, it becomes part of the day rather than a decision to debate. You stop asking whether you feel like doing it. You simply begin. Starting becomes easier when the task is familiar. Familiarity removes fear. Over time, resistance fades. Another important element is flexibility within structure. A routine should adapt without breaking. Missing a day does not mean failure. What matters is returning without drama. Progress compounds through long-term consistency, not perfection. Self-trust grows when you recover quickly instead of quitting after a setback. Routine shapes identity. When you repeat actions daily, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop identifying as someone who tries and start identifying as someone who practices. This shift changes behavior naturally. Actions become expressions of who you are rather than obligations. A simple routine also protects focus. When your day has a clear flow, distractions stand out more clearly. You notice when something pulls you away from what matters. This awareness makes it easier to say no. Over time, your environment begins to support your routine instead of fighting it. Routine does not remove creativity, it supports it. Creativity thrives within structure. When basic habits are automatic, mental space opens for deeper thinking. Many creative breakthroughs come during consistent practice, not random bursts of inspiration. Discipline creates the conditions for insight. Another overlooked benefit is momentum. Completing small tasks early in the day builds confidence. This momentum carries forward. Each completed action reinforces belief in your ability to follow through. That belief fuels further action. Progress builds on itself. Routine also improves patience. You stop expecting immediate results. You learn to trust gradual improvement. This patience reduces anxiety. You focus on daily effort rather than distant outcomes. This keeps motivation steady instead of fragile. As you refine your routine, Regularly review what works and what feels forced. Adjust gently. Remove unnecessary steps. Protect what delivers value. Simplicity is maintained through subtraction, not addition. The goal is not to fill your day, but to direct it. Over time, a simple routine becomes invisible. You no longer think about it, you just live it. This is where compounding happens. Progress accumulates quietly. Skills sharpen. Strength builds. Clarity deepens. Outsiders may not notice day to day, but the long-term difference becomes undeniable. Creating a simple routine that compounds progress daily is an act of self-respect. It is choosing consistency over chaos. It is choosing growth over comfort. Start small. Stay steady. Let repetition do the heavy work. This is how ordinary days create extraordinary change. Chapter 50. Strengthen emotional control by responding slowly and calmly. Emotional control is not about shutting feelings down or pretending they do not exist. It is about choosing how and when you express them. Most problems in life are not caused by emotions themselves, but by rushed reactions driven by them. When emotions move faster than thinking, words come out wrong, decisions become careless, and regret follows. Learning to respond slowly and calmly gives you back control over your actions, your reputation, and your inner peace. Life constantly tests emotional control. Someone criticizes you, a plan falls apart, a message feels disrespectful, an unexpected delay wastes your time. In these moments, the first impulse is usually to react immediately. That reaction feels justified in the moment, but it often creates damage that lasts longer than the situation itself. Responding slowly interrupts this pattern. It gives your mind time to catch up with your emotions. Slowness is not weakness. It is strength. Anyone can react instantly. Few people can pause, observe what they feel, and choose a measured response. That pause is where emotional control lives. Even a few seconds of delay can change everything. Breathing deeply before speaking, reading a message twice before replying, walking away briefly instead of engaging. These small pauses protect you from unnecessary conflict. Calm responses improve decision quality. When emotions are high, judgment narrows. You focus on defending yourself rather than understanding the situation. Calm widens perspective. It allows you to see consequences beyond the present moment. You begin to ask better questions internally. Is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? Does responding now improve anything? These questions guide wiser actions. One reason emotional reactions feel automatic is habit. Many people have practiced reacting quickly for years. The brain learns speed. Changing this requires conscious effort at first. You must notice the urge to react and choose not to follow it. This choice may feel uncomfortable. Discomfort is part of growth. Each time you resist the urge to react, you weaken its hold. Responding slowly also protects relationships. Words spoken in emotional heat are difficult to take back. Silence or calm replies reduce misunderstandings. They create space for clarity. Many conflicts fade when one person refuses to escalate. Calm does not mean agreeing. It means expressing disagreement without hostility. This preserves respect even during tension. Emotional control also strengthens self-respect. When you react impulsively, you give others control over your behavior. They provoke and you respond exactly as expected. When you respond calmly, you keep control. You decide how you show up. This builds confidence. You trust yourself to handle situations without losing composure. Practicing calm responses starts internally. When you feel triggered, name the feeling privately. Anger, frustration, disappointment. Naming emotions reduces their intensity. It shifts activity from reaction to awareness. Awareness creates space. Space allows choice. This internal process happens quickly with practice. Another practical step is slowing your body. Emotions live in the body as much as the mind. Tension in the jaw, tightness in the chest, shallow breathing. Relaxing these physical signals calms the mind. Slow breathing is especially powerful. Longer exhales signal safety to the nervous system. Calm follows naturally. Responding slowly does not mean avoiding difficult conversations. It means choosing the right moment. Timing matters. A calm conversation later is often more productive than a heated exchange now. Delaying response is a strategy, not avoidance. It allows both sides to cool down and communicate more clearly. Emotional control also improves focus. Reactivity pulls attention away from priorities. Arguments linger mentally. Regret distracts. Calm responses end situations cleanly. You move on faster. Energy remains available for what matters. Over time, this improves productivity and mental clarity. Another benefit is improved reputation. People notice composure. They trust those who remain steady under pressure. Calm individuals are often seen as leaders even without titles. Their presence reassures others. This influence comes from restraint, not dominance. Practicing slow responses also reduces stress. Constant reactivity keeps the nervous system activated. Calm responses allow recovery. Over time, baseline stress levels drop. You feel less tense. Sleep improves. Decisions feel less heavy. Emotional control supports overall health. A useful daily practice is reviewing emotional moments. At the end of the day, reflect briefly. Where did you react quickly? Where did you pause successfully? This is not about blame. It is about learning. Each reflection increases awareness. Awareness improves future responses. Another practice is rehearsing calm responses mentally. Visualize challenging situations. Imagine yourself pausing and responding calmly. This trains the mind. When the situation arises, the response feels familiar. Preparation reduces impulsivity. Emotional control also involves letting go of the need to win. Many reactions come from ego, wanting to be right, wanting the last word. Calm responses prioritize peace and progress over ego satisfaction. Letting go of winning creates freedom. You stop carrying unnecessary battles. Responding slowly helps you separate facts from interpretations. Emotional reactions often come from assumptions. Calm allows you to verify rather than assume. This prevents misunderstandings. Clear thinking replaces emotional storytelling. Over time, emotional control becomes natural. The pause shortens. Calm becomes default. You no longer feel the same urge to react. Situations that once triggered you lose their power. This is not numbness, it is mastery. Strengthening emotional control by responding slowly and calmly is a lifelong practice. Progress is gradual. Some days will be easier than others. What matters is consistency. Each calm response builds trust with yourself. Each pause strengthens discipline. As you continue forward, remember that your reactions shape your life more than events themselves. You cannot control everything that happens. You can control how you respond. Choose calm. Choose patience. Choose restraint. These choices protect your energy, sharpen your decisions, and create a steady inner strength that carries you through challenges with dignity and clarity. Chapter 60. Limit external validation to build internal confidence. Many people do not realize how much control external validation has over their lives. Approval feels good. Praise feels reassuring. Being noticed feels rewarding. There is nothing wrong with enjoying encouragement, but when confidence depends on it, freedom disappears. When your sense of worth rises and falls based on opinions, reactions, or attention, you become emotionally dependent on forces you cannot control. Limiting external validation is not about rejecting people or becoming cold. It is about building a stable inner foundation that does not collapse when praise is absent or criticism appears. External validation trains you to look outward for permission. Permission to feel proud. Permission to feel capable. Permission to feel enough. Over time, this habit weakens internal confidence. You stop trusting your own judgment. You question your progress unless someone else confirms it. This creates anxiety and hesitation. Decisions feel heavier because you are not just choosing for yourself. You are anticipating how others will react. Internal confidence works differently. It comes from alignment between what you value and how you act. It grows quietly through effort, consistency, and integrity. It does not require an audience. It does not demand agreement. It feels steady rather than exciting. Building this kind of confidence requires reducing reliance on external signals and strengthening self-trust. One reason external validation becomes addictive is unpredictability. Praise comes randomly. Attention fluctuates. This unpredictability keeps people chasing more. It is similar to gambling. Sometimes you receive approval. Sometimes you do not. This creates emotional highs and lows. Limiting validation removes this instability. Your emotional state becomes less reactive. Calm replaces anticipation. A practical step is becoming aware of validation-seeking behavior. Notice when you share something primarily to be noticed rather than to express truth. Notice when silence from others creates doubt about your worth. Awareness is not judgment. It is information. Once you see the pattern, you can change it. You begin to ask yourself why approval feels necessary in that moment. Another important shift is redefining success. When success is defined externally, confidence remains fragile. When success is defined internally, confidence strengthens. Internal success is measured by effort, consistency, and integrity. Did you show up as planned? Did you act according to your values? Did you make progress regardless of recognition? These questions build self-respect. Self-respect is the root of confidence. Reducing validation also means limiting comparison. Comparison invites external judgment into your mind, even when no one speaks. You measure yourself against others and assume their approval or disapproval. This creates pressure and dissatisfaction. Tracking personal progress replaces comparison. When you focus on improvement rather than ranking, confidence becomes personal rather than competitive. Internal confidence grows through promises kept to yourself. Small commitments matter. Waking up when you say you will. Completing tasks without announcing them. Practicing skills without sharing progress. These actions build trust internally. Trust creates confidence. You no longer need constant reassurance because you have evidence of reliability. Another practice is sitting with discomfort without seeking approval to escape it. When you feel uncertain or insecure, the urge to seek validation often appears. Pausing instead of reaching outward strengthens emotional resilience. You learn that discomfort passes without external input. This experience builds inner strength. Limiting validation also improves focus. When attention is not divided between action and anticipation of response, effort deepens. You work more honestly. You experiment without fear of judgment. This accelerates learning and growth. Fear of opinion often limits potential more than lack of ability. Internal confidence also supports authenticity. When you stop performing for approval, behavior becomes more genuine. You speak more honestly. You choose paths that fit you rather than impress others. This alignment reduces inner tension. Life feels simpler because you are no longer managing an image. Another benefit is reduced emotional exhaustion. Constantly seeking approval is tiring. It requires monitoring reactions, interpreting silence, and adjusting behavior. Limiting this frees mental space. You feel lighter. Energy becomes available for meaningful work rather than self-evaluation. Building internal confidence requires learning to validate yourself. This does not mean arrogance. It means acknowledging effort and progress privately. Reflecting on what you handled well. Recognizing growth without needing witnesses. This practice may feel unfamiliar at first. Over time, it becomes natural. External validation often delays action. People wait for approval before starting. Internal confidence encourages initiative. You act because you believe in your direction, not because others agree. This creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence further. Action becomes the source rather than approval. Another important aspect is accepting that not everyone will understand or support you. Seeking universal approval is impossible. Internal confidence accepts disagreement without losing direction. You stop personalizing opinions. Feedback becomes information rather than judgment. This emotional distance strengthens resilience. Limiting validation also improves relationships. Interactions become less transactional. You stop seeking reassurance through others. You engage more fully because you are not dependent on their response. This creates healthier connections based on presence rather than approval. Practicing this daily involves restraint, choosing not to share everything, allowing achievements to remain private, letting silence exist without filling it. These choices feel uncomfortable initially because validation has been habitual. Over time, comfort grows. You realize nothing is missing. Internal confidence does not announce itself. It is visible through calm behavior, steady progress, and consistent effort. Others may notice. Their notice becomes optional rather than necessary. This is freedom. As you continue forward, remember that confidence built on approval is fragile. Confidence built on self-trust is durable. Limit external validation gently but consistently. Turn attention inward. Measure progress honestly. Respect your own effort. Over time, confidence becomes quiet, steady, and unshakable. Chapter 70. Train deep work habits by reducing noise consistently. Deep work is the ability to concentrate fully on one meaningful task without drifting, checking, reacting, or switching. It is becoming rare because noise has become normal. Noise is not only sound, it is constant information, constant access, constant interruption, and constant mental clutter. Training deep work habits begins with understanding that focus is not a personality trait. It is a skill shaped by environment and behavior. When noise is reduced consistently, the mind relearns how to stay with one thing long enough to produce real value. Most people believe they cannot focus, but what they are actually experiencing is overstimulation. Their minds are trained to jump, not to stay. Notifications interrupt thought. Open tabs fragment attention. Conversations bleed into work. This creates shallow effort. Tasks take longer. Quality drops. Frustration rises. Deep work reverses this pattern by rebuilding attention slowly and intentionally. Reducing noise starts with awareness. Pay attention to what pulls your attention away without adding value. Many distractions feel harmless because they are brief. A quick check, a short scroll, a fast reply. These moments seem small, but they reset concentration. The mind does not return to the same depth immediately. Each interruption costs more than time. It costs momentum. Training deep work means deciding that uninterrupted focus is valuable and worth protecting. This decision changes behavior. You stop treating interruptions as normal. You begin to question what deserves access to your attention. This shift is subtle but powerful. It changes how you structure your day and your environment. One of the most effective steps is reducing digital noise. This does not require deleting everything or becoming extreme. It requires intention. Turn off non-essential notifications. Keep only what truly matters. Place the phone away during focused work. These actions reduce temptation. Willpower becomes unnecessary when distractions are removed. Another form of noise is mental. Unfinished tasks, vague goals, and cluttered schedules create internal distraction. Writing things down clears mental space. When the mind knows tasks are captured, it relaxes. This allows deeper focus on the present task. Clarity supports concentration. Deep work also requires time blocks. Focus cannot happen in fragments. Short, scattered moments rarely lead to depth. Allocating specific periods for focused work trains the brain to enter concentration more quickly. Consistency matters more than length. Even a modest daily block builds the habit. Environment plays a role. A cluttered space signals distraction. A simple space signals intention. You do not need perfection, you need order. Removing unnecessary items from your workspace reduces visual noise. This supports mental calm. Calm supports depth. Another challenge is the urge to switch tasks when discomfort appears. Deep work often feels uncomfortable at first. The mind seeks escape. Reducing noise means resisting this urge. Staying with discomfort trains endurance. Over time, the discomfort fades faster. The mind learns that it does not need constant stimulation. Silence supports deep work. Quiet environments allow thought to unfold fully. If silence is unavailable, controlled sound may help. The key is consistency. Random noise disrupts focus. Predictable environments support it. The goal is stability. Reducing noise also involves managing availability. Constant accessibility destroys depth. Informing others of focused periods reduces interruptions. You do not need to explain in detail. Simple boundaries are enough. Respect for focus grows when it is consistently practiced. Deep work improves quality. When attention is full, mistakes decrease, creativity improves, learning accelerates, satisfaction increases. You feel present rather than scattered. This reinforces the habit. Focus becomes rewarding rather than draining. Another benefit is efficiency. Tasks that once took hours are completed faster. This frees time without rushing. Reduced noise creates more usable time, not just busy time. This changes how you experience your day. Training deep work habits requires patience. The mind may resist initially. Progress may feel slow. This is normal. Years of distraction cannot be undone instantly. Consistency matters more than intensity. Small improvements compound. Reducing noise also means choosing information intake carefully. Constant news updates and content fragment attention. Limiting intake to specific times protects focus. You stay informed without being overwhelmed. Mental clarity improves. Deep work also strengthens confidence. When you produce meaningful results, belief grows. Confidence based on output is stable. It does not depend on attention or praise. This internal confidence supports further focus. Another aspect is learning to finish. Noise encourages abandonment. Deep work encourages completion. Finishing tasks builds momentum. Momentum builds trust in your ability to focus. Trust reinforces discipline. Reducing noise consistently also improves emotional regulation. When attention is not constantly pulled outward, emotions settle. Reactivity decreases. Calm becomes more accessible. This supports clear thinking. Deep work is not about working longer. It is about working with presence. Presence makes effort count. Reducing noise allows presence to exist. This is a skill that benefits every area of life. Over time, your tolerance for distraction decreases. You become more sensitive to noise. This is not fragility. It is awareness. You protect focus because you value it. Others may not understand. That does not matter. Results speak quietly. Training deep work habits is an investment. The returns are cumulative. Skills deepen. Work improves. Time feels richer. Noise loses its grip. Focus becomes a place you can enter deliberately. As you continue, remember that depth is built through consistency, not force. Reduce noise daily in small ways. Protect focus time. Stay with tasks longer. Allow attention to strengthen. Deep work is not a talent reserved for a few. It is a habit available to anyone willing to create space for it. Chapter 80. Choose privacy over attention to grow without pressure. Attention feels powerful, but it often comes with pressure that most people underestimate. When your progress is visible, expectations form quickly. Opinions arrive before results are ready. Judgment shows up before growth has settled. Choosing privacy over attention removes this weight. It allows you to grow at your own pace without carrying the noise of observation. Privacy is not hiding. It is creating space where development can happen without interference. Many people chase attention believing it will motivate them. At first it does. Praise creates excitement. Visibility creates momentum. Over time, that same attention becomes a burden. You start performing instead of progressing. You measure yourself against reactions instead of standards. Mistakes feel heavier because they are witnessed. Growth slows because pressure replaces curiosity. Privacy removes the audience and returns focus to the work itself. Growing without pressure allows honesty. You can admit weaknesses without fear. You can experiment without worrying how it looks. You can change direction without explaining yourself. This honesty accelerates learning. When no one is watching, you are more willing to confront what needs improvement. Progress becomes real rather than cosmetic. Privacy protects motivation. Public goals often feel satisfying before any effort is made. The brain receives reward from attention instead of action. This reduces the drive to follow through. Private goals preserve hunger. Progress becomes the reward. Effort stays internal. This keeps motivation clean and sustainable. Attention also invites comparison. When others see your path, you begin comparing your pace to theirs. This creates unnecessary pressure. Privacy keeps your timeline personal. You move based on readiness rather than expectation. Growth becomes steady instead of rushed. Choosing privacy does not mean isolation. It means selective sharing. Not everyone needs access to your plans, struggles, or next steps. Sharing less reduces mental noise. Fewer opinions mean fewer doubts. Fewer doubts mean clearer action. Clarity strengthens confidence. Privacy also strengthens discipline. When no one is watching, effort becomes a personal commitment rather than a performance. You learn to show up without applause. This builds integrity. Integrity builds self-trust. Self-trust becomes a foundation that does not depend on attention. Another benefit of privacy is emotional safety. Growth involves mistakes. Public mistakes feel heavier. Private mistakes become lessons. Fear decreases when errors are contained. You recover faster. Learning accelerates because you are not protecting an image. Attention often demands consistency before you are ready. Privacy allows uneven progress. Some days strong, some days slow. This flexibility supports long-term growth. You adjust without pressure. Pressure often forces people to quit prematurely. Privacy keeps you moving. Choosing privacy also sharpens focus. When you are not updating others, explaining choices, or responding to feedback, attention stays on the task. Energy is conserved. This creates depth. Depth produces quality. Quality builds quiet confidence. Privacy changes how success feels. Success becomes internal satisfaction rather than external reaction. This satisfaction is stable. It does not fade when attention shifts. You enjoy progress for what it is, not for how it is perceived. Another important aspect is reducing identity attachment. Public attention encourages fixed identities. People expect you to stay the same. Privacy allows evolution. You are free to grow without labels. This flexibility supports long-term development. Privacy also reduces anxiety. Anticipating judgment drains energy. When fewer people are watching, anxiety decreases. Calm increases. Calm improves decision-making. Better decisions support progress. Choosing privacy does not mean you never share. It means you share intentionally. You choose timing. You choose audience. You choose purpose. Sharing becomes meaningful rather than habitual. This approach also protects creativity. Creativity requires freedom to fail and explore. Public spaces often discourage risk. Privacy encourages experimentation. Ideas mature without pressure. Results improve. Privacy builds resilience. When progress is internal, setbacks do not feel public. You process them quietly. Recovery becomes faster. You learn without shame. Attention is loud. Privacy is quiet. Quiet supports depth. Depth supports mastery. Mastery speaks without announcement. Over time, results become visible without explanation. As you continue forward, remember that growth does not require witnesses. Progress does not need approval. Privacy gives you room to become stronger before you are seen. Choose privacy when building. Let results emerge naturally. This path removes pressure and replaces it with steady confidence that lasts. Chapter 9. Audit daily inputs to protect focus and mood. To protect your attention and stabilize your mood, start by treating everything you take in as intentional and not accidental. Inputs shape thought patterns, feelings, and energy more than most people realize. Small, steady exposures add up quickly. A single evening of aimless scrolling can tilt a whole day toward agitation, while a week of careful feeding of the mind and body creates calm clarity. Auditing inputs is the practice of noticing what you consume, deciding whether it helps or harms, and then adjusting consistently so your environment supports your goals instead of working against them. Begin with a practical inventory that is both simple and thorough. For 7 days, write down everything you notice entering your awareness and body. Track the media you read or watch, the conversations you have, the food you eat, the people you spend time with, and the mental loops that replay in the evening. Keep entries short and factual. For example, record 30 minutes of scrolling at 9 p.m. or 2 sugary snacks after lunch. This is not a confession. It is data. Clear records remove guesswork and reveal patterns that otherwise stay invisible. After a week, review the log with a neutral eye. Ask one question for each item. Does this deepen focus or fragment it? Rate each input on a 3-point scale, where 1 weakens concentration and mood, 2 is neutral, and 3 strengthens them. This quick rating converts observation into meaning. It makes it obvious which items consistently drain energy and which add value. Many drains will be mundane and familiar. That is useful, because small habitual drains are the ones that compound into fog and low willpower. Once the problem inputs are visible, eliminate or reduce them deliberately. Choose one to remove completely for a trial period of 2 weeks. Removing a single habit is easier than a full overhaul, and it yields fast insight. If notifications are a recurring low score, disable non-essential alerts for 2 weeks. If late-night social feeds show up on your log, stop using devices after a set hour. The goal is to create measurable changes and observe how your focus and mood respond. Replace harmful inputs with 1 or 2 powerful alternatives that support you. If you habitually consume sensational headlines, swap that time for a short reading from a trustworthy source or a 30-minute focused project session. If idle chatting leaves you drained, replace 1 social hour per day with a walk outside or a silent 10-minute practice that brings composure. Replacement is not about denial. It is about redirecting the time you already spend toward something that improves your capacity. Design rules for information intake that match your goals. Decide specific windows for news and social media rather than allowing them to intrude throughout the day. Limit deep learning to 1 or 2 chosen sources and turn off everything else. When learning is intentional, you absorb more and worry less about missing something. A small, curated diet of input yields better knowledge than a wide scattershot habit that leaves the mind full but not anchored. Curating company is as important as curating content. Notice who energizes you and who consistently leaves you depleted. Make a list of people whose presence lifts your clarity and those who create recurring tension. Protect time for the first group and reduce exposure to the second without drama. Boundaries with people may require short explanations, or they may be silent. What matters is consistent protection of the mental space you need. Physical inputs matter equally. Sleep quality, hydration, and what you eat directly alter mood and focus. Replace heavy late meals with lighter options in the evening. Keep sugary snacks out of reach if they create crashes later. Schedule movement into the day even when it feels small because the brain responds quickly to physical rhythm. When physiology improves, cognitive clarity follows. Create predictable quiet zones in your day that are free from incoming inputs. These are not long meditative retreats at first. Start with a single 30-minute window where devices are off and no consumption happens. Use the time for reflection, reading, or simply letting your thoughts settle. Repeat this window daily. Over time, the mind learns to restore itself and mood steadies. Set message management rules that reduce friction. Use an batch reply approach where messages are handled 2 or 3 times per day instead of continually. Make simple templates for common responses so replies are efficient and not emotionally reactive. If your work requires availability, designate specific hours for open communication and keep the rest closed for focused tasks. Create a physical environment that signals minimal input. Clear a workspace of unrelated items, reduce visual clutter, and place only the tools needed for the task within reach. Sound matters too. If constant background noise disturbs concentration, consider noise-canceling options or a single, consistent auditory backdrop like a measured instrumental playlist during work blocks. Practice an end-of-day reset that clears mental residue. Spend 5 to 15 minutes writing a short list of what went well, what still needs attention, and a compact plan for the next morning. This reduces nocturnal rumination and prevents the mind from carrying work into sleep. When the mind is orderly at night, the next day starts with higher baseline focus and steadier mood. Make review a weekly ritual. Once a week, examine your input, audit notes, outcomes, and how you felt. Adjust the plan. What seemed important 2 weeks ago may no longer be useful. Continuous small corrections keep the system efficient and prevent the pile-up of low-value inputs. Introduce hard boundaries with your own content production and sharing. Posting constantly and tracking reactions trains the mind to seek external approval. Limit public updates to a small, consistent cadence and choose platforms that align with your intentions. Let private effort be the main currency of growth while public signals remain secondary. Adopt simple decision rules that reduce mental churn. For example, if a potential input cannot pass a short test, does it align with my current goals and will it help me tomorrow? Then defer it. Use 2-minute trials before committing to a new source. If a newsletter or podcast does not still feel valuable after a short test, unsubscribe without guilt. Prepare scripts for moments when others try to offload low-value inputs onto you. Short phrases such as, "I'm focusing on a few priorities now," or "I can't take this on at the moment," remove negotiation and keep your boundaries clear. Rehearse these phrases so they feel natural. Boundaries are most effective when delivered calmly and consistently. Remember that an input audit is not a one-and-done project. Habits creep back gradually. The benefit comes from repeated inspection and steady corrections. Use the audit method across seasons of life because what supports you during one period may change later. Small sensory practices also help protect mood. Regularly step outside, notice air quality, the feel of sunlight, or the change in temperature. These tiny checks anchor the moment and reset emotional tone. Mindful breathing when irritation or overwhelm shows up can reduce the urge to reach for a phone or an unhelpful distraction. Finally, measure progress by how you feel and what you produce, not by how busy you are. A cleaner input diet will show up in calmer mornings, clearer focus during tasks, and fewer emotionally charged evenings. This will also create the space for deeper work, more honest relationships, and steadier moods. Audit what you let in, make choices about each input, and repeat the process. The compound effect of removing small drains and adding a few positive feeds will change how attention and emotion operate in everyday life. Over time, the deliberate curation of inputs becomes second nature, and your mental bandwidth grows stronger and more resilient. Chapter 9: Commit to quiet execution instead of loud promises. Action speaks louder than words, yet most people spend more energy talking about what they will do than actually doing it. Loud promises create a false sense of accomplishment. Announcing intentions to others gives a premature reward in the form of attention or approval, but it does not advance the work itself. Quiet execution is different. It is steady effort without spectacle. It is progress measured by results, not reactions. Committing to quiet execution builds discipline, credibility, and long-term success because the value lies in the outcome, not the announcement. Many people underestimate the cost of promises. When you tell others what you will do, expectations form immediately. These expectations create pressure to perform, distract from the work, and invite unnecessary scrutiny. Mistakes feel larger because they are witnessed. Quiet work avoids this trap. By removing the audience, you focus on the process, learn more from mistakes, and make steady improvements without external judgment. Quiet execution strengthens self-trust. When actions are consistent and results speak for themselves, you begin to rely on your own ability rather than approval. Self-trust grows each time you complete a task without fanfare. This internal reinforcement is more stable than applause, which is fleeting and unpredictable. Over time, you no longer need constant recognition to feel capable because evidence of achievement exists in what you produce. A key aspect of quiet execution is resisting the urge to announce early. Most people share their goals prematurely because they hope accountability will increase motivation. In reality, sharing can reduce urgency. The brain receives satisfaction from being heard, creating a false reward. Action should precede declaration. Let results accumulate first. Let progress be visible before discussing it. This sequence prevents distractions and preserves energy. Prioritization is critical. Quiet execution demands clarity about what matters most. Choose one task or goal at a time and dedicate focus to it. Multitasking dilutes effort and reduces measurable outcomes. Focused action, even if slower, produces tangible results. When you concentrate deeply, quality improves, and momentum naturally follows. Consistency is another pillar. Small steps repeated daily accumulate into meaningful outcomes. You do not need large, flashy gestures to make an impact. The weight of effort comes from persistence, not dramatics. Quietly executing daily tasks builds competence and mastery that no loud promise can replace. Over time, these habits compound into extraordinary capability. Tracking progress privately reinforces commitment. Record what you accomplish each day without the need to share. Reflection at the end of each day builds insight, shows patterns, and identifies adjustments without outside input. This private feedback loop improves strategy and strengthens autonomy. You learn to rely on measurable results rather than opinion to gauge growth. Quiet execution also fosters resilience. When work is done without external validation, setbacks are easier to handle. You do not internalize disappointment based on others' reactions. Mistakes are feedback, not public failure. This mindset creates emotional stability, allowing you to continue making progress regardless of circumstances. The ability to persist quietly in adversity is rare and powerful. Accountability remains important but must be directed inward rather than outward. Set personal standards, deadlines, and check-ins. Treat commitments to yourself with the same seriousness you would a public promise. Internal accountability encourages ownership and responsibility. You no longer depend on someone else's attention to follow through because self-discipline becomes the engine driving action. Another aspect of quiet execution is simplicity. Avoid overcomplicating plans with excessive announcements, justifications, or strategies intended for others' observation. Simplicity keeps effort aligned with results. Complex displays of intent can distract from execution. A clear, focused approach ensures energy flows toward completing tasks rather than managing perceptions. Embracing quiet execution shifts perspective on success. Results are measured by achievement and improvement, not by social recognition or praise. This mindset reduces anxiety about how others perceive progress. It allows work to evolve naturally without pressure. Confidence emerges from competence rather than appearance. The focus moves from performance for others to mastery for oneself. Quiet execution also enhances credibility. People notice results more than promises. A history of follow-through builds reputation without self-promotion. Actions demonstrate reliability, skill, and integrity more effectively than any declaration. Over time, others begin to trust your work because evidence exists, not because of words. The habit of quiet execution can be applied in every domain. In work, focus on completing tasks before updating teams. In personal development, practice skills without broadcasting progress. In relationships, act thoughtfully and let behavior convey intentions. Across contexts, results matter more than announcements. This approach cultivates a life where achievement speaks for itself. Resistance to quiet execution is natural. The desire to be recognized or validated is strong. Social media amplifies the urge to showcase progress. Peer expectations create pressure to broadcast achievements. Developing the discipline to delay gratification and work without fanfare strengthens character. Every time effort is prioritized over attention, the habit deepens. Patience is essential. Quiet execution may feel invisible initially. Progress accumulates slowly and steadily. There are no immediate rewards except the internal sense of integrity and focus. Trust the process and value the work itself. Over time, results grow noticeable, and the power of consistent, private effort becomes undeniable. Reflection enhances quiet execution. Periodically review accomplishments, lessons learned, and areas for improvement. This review is inward-facing, focused on growth rather than recognition. Insight deepens when you examine results independently, free from external judgment. The habit of private reflection reinforces autonomy and supports continuous development. Finally, quiet execution fosters long-term growth. Loud promises often burn energy, attract distractions, and create unnecessary pressure. Quiet work conserves energy, improves focus, and strengthens self-confidence. It builds a foundation of competence and resilience that lasts. Over years, cumulative private effort produces outcomes that far exceed what early announcements ever achieve. The discipline of acting first and announcing later creates freedom, mastery, and sustainable success. Chapter 11. Develop resilience through solitude, reflection, and honest self-review. Resilience is built in quiet moments, not during chaos. Solitude allows the mind to rest, organize, and understand itself without external distraction. When life demands adaptation, the ability to recover quickly comes from internal strength cultivated in private reflection. Being alone does not mean isolation or loneliness. It means creating a space where thoughts are examined, emotions processed, and actions evaluated. This deliberate practice builds mental toughness, emotional stability, and clarity that cannot be gained from constant noise or social validation. Reflection is the tool through which resilience is shaped. It is more than thinking about events. It is intentionally reviewing experiences, noticing patterns, and questioning decisions with honesty. Daily reflection strengthens awareness of how you respond under pressure and what triggers distraction or stress. Over time, reflection becomes a mirror that shows not only where growth has occurred, but also where effort is needed. It teaches lessons that are otherwise missed in the rush of life. Solitude creates a safe environment to practice reflection. When no one else is present, honesty becomes possible. You can admit mistakes without judgment, acknowledge weaknesses without embarrassment, and recognize success without external approval. This practice fosters self-trust because you learn to rely on your own evaluation rather than outside opinions. The more often you allow yourself this private review, the more resilient you become to external pressures. An honest self-review begins with specific questions. Ask what worked, what did not, and why. Examine emotional reactions without blame. Consider how choices affected outcomes. Identify areas where preparation, patience, or skill could have changed results. This process is not about self-criticism, it is about gaining clarity and creating a path forward. Accuracy in assessment builds confidence because it reveals patterns and possibilities that are otherwise hidden. Journaling is a practical method to reinforce reflection. Writing thoughts on paper externalizes internal noise, creating perspective and reducing overwhelm. A journal becomes a tool to track progress over time, note recurring challenges, and celebrate small victories. The act of writing forces focus and invites honesty because words must be chosen deliberately. This practice also allows revisiting lessons repeatedly, reinforcing learning and resilience. Solitude also enhances emotional regulation. When alone, emotions can be observed rather than acted on impulsively. You notice rising tension, frustration, or excitement and examine why they occur. Over time, this self-awareness allows more controlled responses to stress and conflict. Emotional control reduces unnecessary energy expenditure and strengthens endurance for challenges that require sustained effort. Resilience grows when reflection leads to actionable insights. Observing mistakes or missed opportunities is not enough. Identifying concrete steps to improve is essential. After each review, set small experiments to apply lessons learned. These deliberate actions build competence and confidence. Repeated cycles of reflection and adjustment form habits that reinforce mental toughness. Another aspect of resilience through solitude is learning to tolerate discomfort. Alone with your thoughts, you encounter boredom, anxiety, and self-doubt. These sensations are unavoidable. Facing them intentionally teaches patience and endurance. The mind learns that discomfort is temporary and manageable, which translates to real-world situations where challenges appear without warning. Daily routines support the development of resilience. Establish a consistent time for solitude and review each day, even if brief. Morning or evening practices work well, depending on personal rhythm. Regularity signals to the mind that reflection is expected and valued. Over time, the habit becomes automatic, creating a stable foundation of self-awareness and preparedness. Resilience is also strengthened by honesty in evaluating success. Many people inflate accomplishments or overlook mistakes to maintain self-image. Honest self-review demands acknowledging reality fully, including areas where growth is slow or absent. This clarity allows for realistic goal setting and prevents repeated errors. Facing the truth of one's performance builds courage, which is the essence of resilience. Engaging in deliberate reflection also improves decision-making under pressure. When the mind is trained to review and analyze calmly, it recognizes patterns and anticipates outcomes more accurately. Choices are informed by experience rather than reaction. This foresight reduces unnecessary risk and allows measured responses to challenges, creating a cycle of continuous improvement. Privacy during reflection ensures that insights remain uncontaminated by external opinion. Feedback can be helpful, but it often arrives colored by bias, emotion, or misunderstanding. Solitude ensures lessons are drawn from reality rather than perception. Trusting personal judgment increases autonomy and confidence, essential components of resilience. Over time, reflection in solitude cultivates perspective. Daily problems feel smaller because long-term patterns are visible. Successes and failures are seen in context, preventing overreaction to temporary setbacks or inflated celebration over minor wins. Perspective stabilizes emotions and guides consistent, thoughtful action, which further strengthens endurance and adaptability. Resilience also develops through recognizing recurring themes in behavior. By reviewing reactions to challenges, common weaknesses or unhelpful habits become clear. This recognition allows targeted intervention. Replacing ineffective patterns with constructive routines gradually fortifies the mind. Consistency and persistence are the engines of resilient growth. Another critical component is self-compassion. Honest self-review does not require harsh judgment. Acknowledge errors and weaknesses kindly, understanding that growth is a process. Compassion allows learning without demoralization and encourages continued effort even when results are slow. This balance of accountability and care strengthens persistence over time. Combining solitude, reflection, and honest self-review creates a feedback loop. Experiences generate insights. Insights guide deliberate action. Action produces outcomes. Outcomes are reviewed, producing further insights. This loop repeats continuously, allowing steady improvement. With repetition, resilience becomes a natural trait rather than a response learned under duress. Practical implementation can include creating a structured reflection template. Note events, emotional responses, lessons learned, and next steps. Keep the format consistent to track patterns over weeks and months. Regularity provides data for self-correction and reduces mental friction when processing experiences. Structured review turns random reflection into a powerful tool for growth. Finally, the benefits of resilience developed in solitude extend beyond internal life. It influences relationships, work, and health. Individuals with strong internal grounding respond calmly to conflict, manage stress effectively, and maintain clarity under pressure. The ability to recover quickly, learn from experience, and adapt to circumstances becomes a defining advantage. Solitude and reflection are not passive activities. They are active strategies for building a mind capable of enduring, learning, and thriving. Chapter 12. I practice saying no to preserve time and priorities. Saying no is one of the most underrated skills for personal growth and productivity. Most people spend their days reacting to requests, invitations, and distractions without pause. Time slips away because every yes, no matter how small, is a commitment of energy and focus. Learning to say no is not about being rude or selfish. It is about protecting what is important and creating space for consistent progress. Each no you give is a yes to your priorities, goals, and personal energy. It is a deliberate choice that ensures your efforts remain meaningful. Many people avoid saying no because they fear judgment or conflict. They want to be liked, helpful, or included. This avoidance leads to overcommitment, stress, and diluted effectiveness. Every task or meeting accepted out of obligation takes time and mental capacity away from the work that actually matters. Saying no is a boundary, not a rejection. It signals respect for your own priorities while allowing others to manage their own responsibilities. Practicing no strengthens self-respect and teaches others to respect your time. The first step is awareness. Pay attention to where your time goes and what drains your energy. Keep a log for a week of all requests, meetings, and obligations. Note how each aligns with your goals and values. Patterns will emerge, showing where saying no could have preserved focus or prevented stress. Awareness is the foundation because you cannot defend time you do not recognize as valuable. Next, clarify priorities. Identify the few things that truly matter to you right now. These might be work goals, personal development, health, or relationships. Once priorities are clear, decisions about requests become simpler. If a task or invitation does not support these priorities, it is a candidate for a no. Clear criteria reduce hesitation and guilt. Saying no becomes an automatic act of alignment rather than a moral judgment. Start small to build the habit. Say no to minor requests that are optional and do not contribute to your immediate priorities. This trains your mind to resist default agreement and to recognize the value of your time. Small successes reinforce confidence. Over time, you can handle larger or more emotionally charged situations with the same clarity and calm. Repetition strengthens the neural pathway that connects decision-making with self-preservation. Use direct and simple language. Avoid over-explaining, apologizing excessively, or offering excuses. A concise no is more effective and more respectful. For example, saying, "I cannot take this on right now," is stronger than a long justification that may invite negotiation or argument. Clear boundaries communicate seriousness without hostility. Practicing clarity ensures your message is heard and your time is honored. Pair saying no with timing and alternatives when appropriate. Declining does not always mean complete rejection. If a request has potential value but conflicts with priorities, offer a delayed option. For example, "I cannot do this today, but I could revisit it next week," preserves relationships without sacrificing focus. Alternatives should be offered selectively to avoid opening backdoor obligations that undermine your boundaries. Expect discomfort at first. Many people feel guilty, anxious, or even defensive when saying no. This reaction is normal because most people are conditioned to seek approval. Discomfort is temporary. It diminishes with practice. Each time you honor your own priorities, confidence grows and the fear of judgment fades. Emotional tolerance strengthens resilience and focus. Saying no also applies to personal habits and internal distractions. It is not only about responding to others but also about declining activities or thoughts that pull you away from meaningful work. Turning down unnecessary media consumption, mindless scrolling, or unproductive routines is part of preserving energy. Internal no's create mental space and support clarity. Every decline, external or internal, reinforces self-discipline. Consistency matters more than perfection. You will not be able to say no to every distraction immediately. Some commitments will feel unavoidable. Focus on consistent practice with situations you can control. Each repetition reinforces the habit. Over time, your mind and those around you recognize that your time is structured and not freely negotiable. This predictability creates respect and reduces unnecessary pressure. Reflect on outcomes regularly. After saying no, notice how your energy, focus, and progress improve. This reinforces the value of boundaries and strengthens the habit. Seeing concrete results validates your choices and reduces guilt. Reflection ensures that saying no is not abstract. It becomes a measurable part of your growth strategy. Saying no also sharpens decision-making. When every opportunity is evaluated against clear priorities, you learn to assess value rapidly. The brain becomes efficient at distinguishing between what deserves attention and what does not. This skill transfers across work, relationships, and personal life, improving efficiency and reducing mental clutter. Practice empathy in the process. Saying no does not require dismissing others' needs. Acknowledge requests politely and firmly. Empathy preserves relationships while maintaining boundaries. Over time, people respect clarity more than acquiescence. They understand that commitment to one's own priorities is not personal rejection. Combine saying no with strategic yeses. The no is powerful only when it protects meaningful yeses. Prioritize tasks, relationships, and commitments that align with long-term goals. Protect these yeses with deliberate declines elsewhere. This ensures energy and focus remain concentrated on what produces real value. Your yes becomes powerful because it is chosen intentionally. Saying no reduces stress and prevents burnout. Overcommitment creates scattered attention and fatigue. Each no eliminates unnecessary weight, allowing energy to flow toward essential work. This creates a sense of control, calm, and agency. You move with purpose rather than reaction. Finally, understand that saying no is an ongoing practice, not a one-time event. Life continuously presents new requests, distractions, and obligations. Boundaries must be reaffirmed daily. Consistent application strengthens self-discipline and frees time for focused growth. Each no preserves your priorities and ensures that your efforts are aligned with what truly matters. Mastering this skill transforms your life by giving control of your time and energy back to you. Chapter 30. Build physical discipline that supports mental clarity. Physical discipline and mental clarity are deeply connected. The body and mind share energy, focus, and endurance, so neglecting one weakens the other. Building physical discipline is not about aesthetics or external approval. It is about creating a foundation that allows the mind to function with precision, calm, and strength. When the body is conditioned through consistent effort, the mind becomes sharper, decision-making improves, and emotional regulation strengthens. Discipline in movement, rest, and nutrition creates resilience that carries over into every area of life. Begin with consistency in movement. Daily physical activity trains not only the muscles but also the mind. Simple routines like walking, stretching, or bodyweight exercises establish habit and signal commitment to self-care. Regular effort builds patience, endurance, and confidence. Each session, no matter how short, strengthens the neural pathways that connect intention with action. Over time, consistency compounds into strength that supports both body and mind. Strength training is particularly effective for mental clarity. The deliberate resistance and focus required in lifting, pushing, or pulling translate into concentration skills. Each controlled movement requires attention to form, timing, and breathing. The discipline learned in the gym transfers to the mental realm. Challenges feel more manageable, focus improves, and stress tolerance increases. Physical effort becomes a mirror for mental endurance. Cardiovascular conditioning sharpens focus by improving oxygen flow to the brain. Activities like running, cycling, swimming, or brisk walking enhance alertness, memory, and cognitive performance. The rhythmic nature of cardio also promotes meditative focus, calming the nervous system while building stamina. A mind trained in a well-oxygenated, energized body is less prone to distraction and fatigue. Flexibility and mobility practices reduce tension in the body that can cloud thought. Yoga, stretching, or simple movement sequences release stress held in muscles and joints. When the body is supple, mental rigidity decreases. Physical ease allows attention to flow freely. Discomfort or stiffness can be a subtle drain on patience and concentration, so addressing it directly strengthens clarity. Discipline in nutrition fuels mental performance. What you eat affects energy, focus, and mood. Consistent habits around meals reduce fluctuations in attention and emotion. A body supplied with stable, nourishing energy avoids crashes that cloud thinking. Eating intentionally, avoiding overindulgence, and maintaining hydration provide the brain with optimal conditions to operate at peak capacity. Discipline in consumption parallels discipline in thought. Sleep is a critical yet often neglected form of physical discipline. Establishing consistent sleep routines allows the body and mind to recover fully. Sleep consolidates memory, repairs tissue, and regulates hormones. Inadequate or inconsistent rest diminishes focus, increases irritability, and slows decision-making. Committing to regular sleep patterns is an essential act of self-respect that underpins mental clarity. Physical discipline also teaches self-control and patience. Pushing through the discomfort of training or resisting poor habits strengthens willpower. These lessons carry into daily life, allowing for better decisions under pressure. The mind becomes accustomed to structured effort, delayed gratification, and sustained focus. Challenges that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable because the body has trained endurance and the mind follows suit. Consistency is more important than intensity at first. Small but regular physical actions create lasting change. A 30-minute walk each day or a brief morning routine is more powerful than sporadic extreme workouts. Steady commitment embeds habits and reinforces mental routines. Discipline builds when the body learns to expect effort and the mind anticipates focus. Progress becomes cumulative rather than sporadic. Tracking progress reinforces accountability and motivation. Record workouts track improvements in strength, endurance, or flexibility and note how mental clarity responds. Seeing tangible results motivates continued practice. This feedback loop strengthens the connection between physical action and cognitive benefit. Over time, the pattern of disciplined effort producing clear thought becomes automatic. Incorporate recovery practices to prevent burnout. Rest, stretching, and breathing exercises allow the nervous system to reset. Recovery is not weakness, it is strategic maintenance. A body in balance supports a mind in balance. Overtraining or neglecting rest impairs focus, irritability rises, and resilience diminishes. Discipline includes knowing when to act and when to pause. Mindfulness in physical practice amplifies benefits. Paying attention to sensations during movement, breath, and posture increases body awareness and mental presence. Exercises performed with awareness enhance neural pathways that support focus and self-regulation. Physical discipline practiced mindfully becomes a training ground for intentional thought and emotional control. Set measurable goals for physical habits to maintain motivation. Simple markers such as steps walked, weights lifted, or minutes of activity provide structure and clarity. Measurable outcomes offer feedback, reinforce routine, and create momentum. Clear targets prevent aimless effort and allow progress to be celebrated, reinforcing continued commitment. Physical discipline also supports stress management. Regular activity reduces cortisol levels, improves mood, and stabilizes energy. When the body is conditioned, stressors feel less overwhelming. The mind approaches challenges with calm efficiency rather than reactive agitation. This stability enhances mental clarity and decision-making under pressure. Avoid multitasking during physical activity. Focus fully on the movement and the body's response. Each session is an exercise in attention. reinforcing the ability to concentrate without distraction. Mental habits formed through focused physical practice generalize to work, study, and personal interactions. The mind learns to stay engaged on one task until completion. Accountability can accelerate progress. Partners, coaches, or personal tracking systems encourage commitment without reliance on external praise. External accountability supplements internal discipline, but does not replace it. True physical discipline thrives on consistent self-motivation supported by structured feedback. Integrating discipline in posture, breathing, and core strength also contributes to mental performance. Correct posture and controlled breathing enhance oxygen delivery, reduce tension, and signal readiness. These small adjustments support focus, alertness, and emotional regulation. The body becomes a tool that actively enhances mental clarity rather than a source of distraction or fatigue. Physical discipline is not limited to formal exercise. Daily habits like taking stairs, standing periodically, or walking mindfully during breaks maintain energy flow and mental engagement. Even brief, consistent effort accumulates into noticeable improvements. These actions remind the mind that discipline is ongoing, practical, and available in multiple forms. Finally, recognize the feedback loop between body and mind. Physical discipline creates a stronger, more resilient body, which enhances cognitive function, emotional stability, and focus. Mental clarity reinforces consistency in physical practice, creating a virtuous cycle. Investing in the body is investing in the mind. Over time, disciplined physical habits underpin every aspect of performance, decision-making, and personal growth. Chapter 14. Today, focus on skill mastery before seeking recognition. Skill mastery requires patience, focus, and unwavering dedication. The temptation to seek recognition often undermines genuine growth. Recognition is fleeting and external, while mastery is internal and permanent. The path to excellence begins with deliberate practice rather than announcements or applause. Each hour spent refining technique, understanding nuances, and pushing beyond comfort zones builds competence that becomes undeniable. True mastery is evident in results, not in the opinions of others, and it creates a foundation that allows recognition to follow naturally rather than being forced. The first step is commitment to continuous learning. Identify the skill that aligns most closely with your goals and devote time consistently to improving it. Break the skill into components and address each aspect methodically. Avoid shortcuts that prioritize speed over depth. Deep engagement requires repetition, experimentation, and reflection. Every repetition strengthens neural pathways, enhances intuition, and improves execution. Focused effort compounds over time and builds a standard of performance that cannot be ignored. Practice with intensity but without distraction. Skills develop most efficiently when attention is undivided. Minimize interruptions, social media, and multitasking during practice sessions. This environment allows for immediate feedback, precise adjustments, and progressive improvement. Attention to detail separates competent effort from true mastery. Refining small components repeatedly creates larger transformation in ability. The quality of practice matters more than the quantity of hours logged, if those hours are scattered or unfocused. Feedback is crucial but should be sought selectively. Not all opinions contribute to growth. Identify mentors, experts, or sources that provide precise, constructive guidance. Evaluate criticism objectively and integrate lessons without attaching ego to external judgment. Mastery grows in response to informed correction, not praise. Learning to discern valuable input ensures that improvement is guided and consistent. Deliberate challenges accelerate skill development. Push boundaries gradually and systematically. Seek scenarios that stretch current capabilities without causing discouragement. Growth occurs when effort slightly exceeds current competence. Repeating this process over time expands skill range and strengthens confidence. Each challenge becomes a benchmark, highlighting areas for further refinement while reinforcing the habit of persistence. Consistency is more important than public acknowledgement. Daily effort, even in small increments, leads to compound improvement. Skills neglected for attention-seeking lose their potential. Persistent, private work accumulates invisible results that eventually become evident through performance. The discipline of repeated action without external validation separates those who achieve lasting expertise from those who only seek temporary recognition. Internal measurement fosters genuine progress. Track improvement through personal benchmarks, performance metrics, or skill tests rather than social approval. This focus on self-assessment ensures that development is objective and aligned with actual ability. Measuring growth internally keeps motivation rooted in mastery rather than applause, creating a sustainable trajectory for improvement. Avoid the trap of performing for an audience. Demonstrating skill prematurely often leads to incomplete work, errors, and superficial understanding. Focus on learning, experimenting, and refining before showcasing results. When recognition comes after mastery, it is earned and credible. Performing before being ready dilutes authority and creates reliance on external validation, weakening long-term impact. Time investment matters more than exposure. Consistent, disciplined practice produces far greater results than occasional high-profile demonstrations. The work done in quiet hours, unobserved, compounds into expertise that speaks for itself. This hidden effort builds confidence, independence, and a solid foundation that recognition alone cannot provide. Excellence requires invisible effort, and mastery flourishes where attention is not the driving force. Reflection accelerates skill acquisition. After each session, evaluate what was learned, what challenges emerged, and what improvements are needed. Honest self-assessment allows for precise adjustments and prevents repetition of errors. Reflection reinforces neural connections, deepens understanding, and aligns practice with long-term objectives. Mastery is iterative, requiring continual analysis of performance and adjustment of strategies. Resisting shortcuts builds resilience. True skill cannot be replaced by appearances or imitation. Avoid quick, fix methods designed for visibility rather than competence. Invest time in foundational principles, repetition, and deliberate practice. The rigor of this approach creates a durable skill set that adapts under pressure and delivers results consistently. Mastery thrives where patience and effort outweigh urgency and attention-seeking. Specialization enhances efficiency. Focus on one skill at a time to develop depth rather than breadth too early. Multitasking across multiple areas can scatter energy and slow progress. Concentrated effort produces noticeable growth and reinforces confidence. Deep expertise in a single domain often yields more influence than superficial competence in many areas. Depth builds authority silently and powerfully. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. Errors during practice are essential data for improvement. Analyze them without ego and adjust methods accordingly. Mastery develops through this cycle of attempt, feedback, correction, and refinement. Over time, this disciplined approach reduces errors and strengthens performance. Comfort with imperfection allows continued experimentation and learning, accelerating progress toward excellence. Patience strengthens character alongside skill. The process of mastering a craft teaches endurance, humility, and focus. It develops the ability to resist distractions, temporary recognition, and unnecessary comparisons. These qualities enhance not only competence, but also personal growth. Individuals who prioritize mastery cultivate mental toughness and persistence that extend to other areas of life. Integration of skills into practical application is critical. Mastery is not solely about isolated exercises. It is about using skill effectively in real-world scenarios. Apply learned techniques consistently to tasks, projects, or challenges that require them. This practical reinforcement solidifies understanding and demonstrates value. Mastery is confirmed through effectiveness rather than theory or demonstration. Balance humility with confidence. Pursue skill development quietly and deliberately, but recognize personal progress. Avoid arrogance, but acknowledge competence privately to maintain motivation. This balance ensures focus remains on learning while cultivating self-assurance. Recognition is a byproduct of ability, not a prerequisite for progress. Finally, understand that recognition is temporary, but mastery is lasting. When effort is directed toward skill development rather than applause, outcomes endure. Quiet focus, deliberate practice, and resilience in learning create results that are undeniable and sustainable. Recognition eventually arrives, but it is earned on the foundation of competence and sustained work. Prioritizing skill mastery ensures that personal growth, performance, and influence remain substantial long after attention fades. Chapter 15. Reduce social comparison by tracking personal progress. Social comparison is one of the greatest obstacles to focus, confidence, and consistent growth. When attention is constantly directed toward what others are doing, measuring yourself against their progress or achievements, energy is diverted from your own development. Comparison creates anxiety, distraction, and a sense of inadequacy that is rarely reflective of reality. Every individual has unique circumstances, skills, and timelines. Tracking personal progress shifts focus inward, providing clarity, motivation, and measurable evidence of improvement without external benchmarks or judgment. By monitoring your own growth, you build confidence, maintain discipline, and cultivate a sense of achievement that is independent of others. The first step is defining what matters most to you. Identify goals, skills, or habits that align with long-term vision. Clarifying personal metrics allows for meaningful progress tracking and prevents arbitrary comparisons. Focus on factors that truly influence personal success rather than societal pressures, trends, or superficial measures. When your attention is directed at your own milestones, you cultivate intrinsic motivation, which is far more sustainable than relying on external approval. Next, create a system for monitoring progress. This can be as simple as a journal, spreadsheet, or app that records daily achievements, small wins, or improvements in skills. Consistency in tracking provides a visible record of effort and growth over time. Seeing tangible evidence of advancement reinforces the connection between consistent action and meaningful results. A structured system prevents reliance on memory or impression, which can be distorted by emotions or external influences. Focus on small, measurable increments rather than grand outcomes. Breaking goals into manageable steps allows for clearer evaluation and reinforces a sense of accomplishment. For instance, tracking consistent study sessions, exercises completed, or habits followed provides immediate feedback. These small markers accumulate into significant results when maintained over weeks and months. Measuring tangible progress creates a natural rhythm of motivation and discipline without relying on social cues. Reflection is essential in personal tracking. Regularly review entries to understand patterns, identify obstacles, and recognize growth. Reflecting on progress highlights areas where effort is effective and areas that require adjustment. This practice fosters insight, self-awareness, and self-correction. It trains the mind to prioritize actions based on personal performance rather than comparison or competition with others. Tracking personal progress also reduces the impact of external noise. Social media, peer accomplishments, and public benchmarks can distort perception of success. When focus is internalized through measurable records, external achievements lose their ability to provoke anxiety or envy. Progress is validated by evidence, not opinion. A private record of improvement creates security and self-reliance, allowing you to work steadily without distraction. The habit of documenting progress also encourages accountability. Recording achievements or efforts daily reinforces consistency. Even small steps taken consistently demonstrate commitment and discipline. Accountability to oneself cultivates self-trust, which strengthens confidence and resilience. The habit builds a reliable feedback loop where actions and results are continuously evaluated and improved upon. Tracking progress provides perspective over time. Reviewing past entries illustrates how far you have come, creating motivation to continue. Growth is often imperceptible in the short term, and comparison can obscure subtle advancement. Documentation reveals trends, showing improvement that may be invisible in day-to-day life. Recognizing cumulative results fosters patience, persistence, and satisfaction with the journey rather than fixation on external validation. A clear distinction must be made between healthy inspiration and harmful comparison. Observing others can provide ideas, techniques, or motivation. However, it becomes harmful when it triggers self-doubt or envy. Personal tracking ensures that external observation serves learning and growth, not self-criticism. By measuring against yourself, every decision, adjustment, or improvement is rooted in personal progress rather than judgment of relative status. Celebrate achievements privately. Acknowledging milestones reinforces motivation and supports mental well-being. This does not require public recognition. Internal celebration strengthens intrinsic drive and encourages continued effort. Celebrating personal progress builds resilience, reduces dependence on external approval, and nurtures a sense of accomplishment that is consistent and sustainable. Use data to guide decisions. Insights gained from tracking help prioritize efforts, allocate energy effectively, and identify strategies that work best for you. Repeatedly observing what produces results allows focus to narrow on high-impact activities. Progress tracking converts intuition into evidence-based decisions, reinforcing efficiency and reducing wasted effort. This analytical approach strengthens both discipline and strategic thinking. Tracking progress also fosters self-compassion. By maintaining a record of effort rather than outcome alone, you recognize consistent effort even when results are slower than desired. This reduces the harsh self-criticism often triggered by social comparison. You learn to value perseverance and process, which are the true determinants of long-term growth. Effort becomes the measure of success, not external metrics. Establish measurable benchmarks. Define clear, quantifiable indicators of skill, productivity, or personal growth. Benchmarks provide reference points that clarify whether actions are effective. They transform subjective feelings of success or failure into concrete evaluations. Measurable benchmarks empower decision-making, highlight progress, and prevent reliance on external opinion for validation. Discipline in tracking is critical. Sporadic updates or inconsistent records diminish effectiveness and allow social comparison to creep back in. Daily or regular updates create a continuous feedback loop that strengthens focus, awareness, and self-reliance. The act of tracking itself reinforces discipline, attention to detail, and mindfulness regarding personal development. Gradually refine metrics. As skills or goals evolve, adjust what is being measured to remain relevant. Tracking should not be static. It must reflect growth and changing priorities. Periodic recalibration ensures that attention remains focused on what matters most rather than old or irrelevant standards. Adaptable tracking preserves alignment with long-term objectives and maintains motivation. Combining tracking with reflection encourages learning from patterns. Observe successes, setbacks, and fluctuations in effort or performance. Identify factors contributing to improvement and obstacles slowing progress. This analytical approach transforms daily records into actionable insight. Lessons learned through tracking are applied immediately, creating a continuous cycle of growth, improvement, and mastery. Finally, understand that personal progress is the only meaningful comparison. Life is not a contest of appearances, timing, or social metrics. Every individual's path is unique. By focusing on internal growth, documenting effort, and measuring tangible results, social comparison loses its power. Energy is reclaimed for deliberate action, confidence is strengthened, and long-term goals are steadily achieved. Tracking personal progress is both a shield against distraction and a compass guiding toward consistent achievement. Chapter 16v. Strengthen boundaries to keep goals protected daily. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect focus, energy, and progress. Without clear boundaries, goals are easily derailed by distractions, obligations, or the expectations of others. Strengthening boundaries is not about isolation or hostility. It is about creating space for deliberate action and intentional living. Each boundary you establish preserves time, mental clarity, and emotional energy, allowing consistent progress toward meaningful objectives. Discipline in maintaining limits ensures that priorities are not compromised and that effort is concentrated on what truly matters. Begin by identifying what must be protected. Clarify your highest priorities, essential tasks, and long-term goals. Recognize which people, habits, or commitments have the potential to disrupt your focus or drain your energy. Understanding these threats provides a clear framework for establishing boundaries. When you know what needs protection, creating rules and limits becomes purposeful and decisive rather than arbitrary. Communicate boundaries clearly and calmly. Let others know your limits regarding time, attention, and energy. Whether it is work obligations, social interactions, or requests for help, express what you can and cannot accommodate. Clear communication reduces confusion and minimizes conflict. When boundaries are consistent and firm, people learn to respect them, which further strengthens your capacity to protect your goals. Consistency is key. A boundary is only effective if it is applied reliably. Inconsistent enforcement creates confusion and erodes self-discipline. Commit to honoring the limits you set even when it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. Each instance of maintaining a boundary reinforces self-respect and strengthens the internal habit of protecting your time and priorities. Over time, this practice builds a reliable structure for focus and progress. Boundaries should also be internal. Protecting goals is not only about external pressures, but also about self-discipline. Limit internal distractions such as procrastination, negative self-talk, and indulgence in low-value activities. Decide what is acceptable for your focus and what is not, and hold yourself accountable. Mental boundaries are as crucial as physical or social ones for sustaining long-term growth. Prioritize your time actively. Treat it as a finite resource and allocate it to the tasks and habits that directly support your objectives. Boundaries around time prevent energy from being absorbed by low-priority demands. Daily schedules, blocks of focused work, and deliberate pauses create a structured environment where goals can thrive. Protecting time ensures momentum is maintained and prevents fragmentation of effort. Learn to say no without hesitation. Every yes to an external request is a potential compromise of your boundaries. Saying no preserves your energy and time for what matters most. Do not over-explain or justify your limits unnecessarily. A firm refusal signals clarity and reinforces the seriousness of your boundaries. Respect for your limits begins with your own willingness to defend them consistently. Boundaries also include control over your environment. Organize spaces to minimize interruptions and distractions. Create a workspace or personal area that signals focus and purpose. Limit exposure to social media notifications and other attention-draining inputs. Environmental boundaries reduce the likelihood of reactive behavior and allow sustained engagement with important tasks. A well-structured environment supports mental clarity and protects goal-oriented energy. Monitor relationships for boundary alignment. Surround yourself with individuals who respect limits and support your growth. Distance yourself from those who repeatedly ignore boundaries or impose unnecessary pressure. Healthy relationships reinforce focus and resilience, while toxic or overly demanding interactions undermine discipline. Choosing companions wisely ensures that your energy is preserved for priorities rather than being depleted by constant negotiation or compromise. Reinforce boundaries with rituals. Daily habits such as planning the day, reviewing priorities, and setting limits on communication or interruptions create automatic reinforcement. Rituals reduce reliance on willpower alone and embed protective behavior into routine. When boundaries are habitual, they require less conscious effort and become a natural part of maintaining focus and progress. Anticipate boundary challenges and prepare responses. Conflicts or attempts to violate your limits are inevitable. Decide in advance how you will handle interruptions, urgent requests, or pressure from others. Clear strategies reduce stress, prevent reactive decision-making, and preserve integrity. Preparation strengthens the ability to uphold boundaries consistently even under challenging circumstances. Reflect regularly on boundary effectiveness. Assess which limits are working and which require adjustment. Reflection ensures that boundaries remain aligned with goals and adapt to evolving circumstances. Continuous evaluation prevents erosion of focus and confirms that time and energy are being used intentionally. Self-review strengthens awareness and reinforces the importance of maintaining limits. Balance firmness with flexibility. Boundaries are not rigid walls. They are tools to protect priorities while allowing space for adaptation when necessary. Determine which areas require strict enforcement and which can accommodate minor adjustments without compromising objectives. Flexibility ensures resilience and reduces unnecessary tension while maintaining focus on goals. Boundaries also enhance mental resilience. By limiting external demands and protecting internal focus, stress and overwhelm decrease. Mental space is created for strategic thinking, problem-solving, and creativity. Preserved energy allows consistent progress rather than reactive effort. Psychological strength grows when boundaries are maintained with discipline and intentionality. Reinforce self-respect through boundary enforcement. Every time you protect your time or priorities, you signal to yourself that your goals matter. This builds confidence, self-trust, and motivation. A strong sense of self-worth emerges when boundaries are honored, reducing the temptation to yield to external pressures unnecessarily. Combine boundaries with goal tracking. Regularly evaluate progress to ensure that protective measures are yielding results. Boundaries without direction can become rigid habits without purpose. Tracking ensures that limits are aligned with meaningful outcomes and that energy is allocated efficiently. Insight gained from observation strengthens future boundary decisions. Commit to long-term consistency. Daily protection of goals, priorities, and energy compounds over time. Even small lapses can disrupt momentum, so vigilance is essential. Persistent enforcement transforms boundaries into unshakable habits that safeguard focus, progress, and personal growth. Strengthening boundaries is not a one-time effort, but a continuous practice that supports lasting achievement. Ultimately, strong boundaries create freedom. By defining what is acceptable and what is not, you control the flow of your time, attention, and energy. Goals are insulated from unnecessary interference, allowing focused effort to produce results. Boundaries empower discipline, reduce stress, and ensure that your personal and professional objectives are pursued without compromise. Protecting goals daily through clear, consistent, and intentional boundaries is a fundamental practice for anyone seeking sustained success and meaningful personal growth. Chapter 7-7Z. Invest in learning quietly to increase long-term value. Investing in learning quietly is one of the most powerful strategies for long-term growth. Knowledge gained in silence accumulates without distraction, without the pressure of approval, and without the constant need to show progress to others. This kind of learning is deliberate, focused, and strategic. It does not seek applause or recognition in the moment, but instead builds lasting value that becomes evident over time. Every hour spent reading, practicing, reflecting, or experimenting quietly compounds into skill, insight, and expertise that few can match. The benefits are invisible at first, but they form the foundation of extraordinary capability and influence. The first step is choosing what to learn. Select areas that align with long-term goals or enhance personal strengths. Focus on subjects, skills, or practices that have enduring relevance and practical application. Avoid learning for the sake of appearance or short-term attention. Quiet study requires prioritization because time and energy are finite resources. Deep engagement produces value far beyond surface-level knowledge or fleeting trends. Create a routine for uninterrupted learning. Schedule dedicated periods each day to focus without interruptions or notifications. Consistent practice ensures that learning is progressive rather than sporadic. Small, focused sessions repeated over time are more powerful than occasional bursts of effort. During these periods, immerse fully in the material, explore every nuance, and challenge your understanding. The mind grows sharper and more disciplined with repeated, concentrated attention. Read and study widely but with depth. Exposure to diverse ideas expands perspective, enhances critical thinking, and stimulates creativity. Combine broad reading with intensive focus on areas that require mastery. Notes, summaries, and reflections help consolidate understanding. The act of writing or teaching to oneself reinforces retention. Deep engagement with material strengthens comprehension and ensures that learning becomes actionable rather than superficial. Practice learning by doing. Application is essential for retention and real-world value. Theoretical knowledge without practice is limited in impact. Experiment, test, and implement insights quietly. Mistakes and adjustments during practice provide immediate feedback that enhances understanding. Real-world application transforms abstract concepts into practical skills that increase effectiveness and competence over time. Avoid the trap of performing for others while learning. Sharing knowledge or showcasing progress prematurely can create pressure, distraction, or dependence on external validation. Learning quietly allows experimentation, mistakes, and reflection without judgment. The focus remains on personal development rather than audience approval. Over time, Mastery achieved in private manifests naturally in visible results, establishing credibility organically. Track progress internally. Reflect regularly on what has been learned, what improvements have occurred, and what remains challenging. Use journals, logs, or personal assessments to measure advancement. Tracking creates a feedback loop that reinforces learning and highlights areas needing further attention. Internal metrics provide clarity without reliance on comparison or recognition from others. Seek mentors or trusted sources selectively. Guidance can accelerate learning but must be pursued thoughtfully. Mentors provide insight, advice, and corrections while respecting autonomy. Quiet learning balances self-directed exploration with occasional targeted input. This approach ensures that growth is substantial and sustained rather than dependent on frequent external validation. Embrace patience as a core component of quiet learning. True mastery develops slowly and often imperceptibly. Immediate results or recognition are rare. The value of persistent, unseen effort compounds over months and years. Accepting that growth is gradual reinforces consistency and resilience. Patience prevents frustration and strengthens the habit of disciplined study. Protect mental space during learning. Minimize distractions, social comparison, and constant evaluation from others. A focused mind absorbs knowledge more efficiently and produces better insight. Silence and solitude allow connections between ideas to form naturally. Thoughtful reflection nurtures creativity, problem-solving, and strategic thinking. Mental clarity ensures that learning is deep, integrated, and practical. Integrate new knowledge into daily life. Identify ways to apply concepts, strategies, or techniques in work, relationships, or personal projects. Practical integration reinforces retention and demonstrates real value. Learning is most powerful when it directly enhances capability, decision-making, or problem-solving. Each application deepens understanding and strengthens confidence. Emphasize quality over quantity. Studying or practicing extensively without attention or engagement produces limited results. Focus on mastery of fewer topics rather than superficial familiarity with many. Depth of knowledge produces expertise, resilience, and adaptability. Quiet learning encourages diligence, attention to detail, and thoughtful progression rather than haste or breadth for appearance. Avoid seeking external validation for achievements. Recognition can distract from learning, create dependency on praise, and introduce unnecessary stress. The most valuable growth occurs without immediate acknowledgement. Long-term expertise emerges naturally and commands respect without the need for performance. Focusing inward ensures that motivation stems from personal standards rather than societal approval. Use reflection to consolidate understanding. After learning sessions, review insights, summarize key points, and identify practical takeaways. Reflection strengthens memory, sharpens comprehension, and connects new information with existing knowledge. Thoughtful review prevents superficial retention and ensures that learning contributes to long-term skill and capability. Balance challenge with achievable goals. Engage with material that pushes limits but remains attainable. Stretching skills and understanding gradually promotes growth without discouragement. Overcoming challenges quietly builds confidence, resilience, and problem-solving abilities. Each successfully tackled difficulty reinforces competence and prepares the mind for more complex learning. Prioritize consistency over intensity. Short, daily periods of focused learning outweigh sporadic, intense sessions. Steady accumulation of knowledge and skills compounds into lasting value. The discipline developed through consistent effort also strengthens mental endurance, patience, and attention to detail. Quiet investment in learning is a marathon, not a sprint, producing sustainable long-term benefits. Protect emotional energy during learning. Avoid excessive comparison with peers, pressure to perform, or anxiety about outcomes. Emotional stability enhances focus, comprehension, and creativity. Learning thrives in an environment of calm determination and self-guided effort. Emotional balance ensures that progress is deliberate and continuous rather than reactive or inconsistent. Finally, understand that quiet learning builds unshakable value. Knowledge, skills, and expertise acquired privately compound silently until they produce undeniable results. Investing in growth without distraction or external validation creates resilience, mastery, and capability that endure. Over time, those who prioritize silent learning gain a competitive advantage, influence, and personal strength that cannot be replicated by those who seek attention first. Quiet investment in knowledge is a lifelong strategy that yields exponential returns in skill, judgment, and personal impact. Chapter 8: Practice mindful communication to speak less and mean more. Mindful communication transforms interactions by prioritizing clarity, intention, and impact over quantity of words. Speaking less allows the mind to consider meaning carefully and ensures that every statement carries purpose. Most conversations are filled with filler, repetition, and reaction rather than thought. Practicing mindfulness in speech is not about restraint for its own sake, but about making each word deliberate, meaningful, and aligned with goals. When communication is measured, intentional, and thoughtful, it strengthens relationships, reduces conflict, and conveys confidence. The power of well-chosen words far exceeds the influence of constant speech. The first step is cultivating awareness. Observe how often you speak versus how often you listen. Notice the content, tone, and emotional drivers behind your words. Many responses are habitual or reactive, triggered by emotion, social expectation, or desire for approval. Awareness allows you to pause, evaluate, and choose whether speaking adds value. Silence becomes a tool for reflection rather than absence of communication. Listening deeply is essential. Focus on understanding the speaker's perspective before forming a response. Active listening enhances comprehension, empathy, and the ability to respond with relevance and clarity. Questions, pauses, and acknowledgement demonstrate engagement without unnecessary speech. Listening attentively ensures that when you do speak, your words are meaningful and targeted to the situation, rather than reactive or filler. Think before responding. Even a brief pause allows evaluation of whether your words are necessary, accurate, and helpful. Consider the potential impact of each statement. Will it clarify, inform, or solve a problem? Will it build trust, strengthen relationships, or guide action? Mindful pauses prevent impulsive remarks, gossip, or emotionally charged statements that later require correction or apology. Focus on precision. Choose words that convey meaning accurately without ambiguity. Avoid vague statements or unnecessary qualifiers that dilute intent. Clear expression reduces misunderstanding and demonstrates respect for the listener's time and attention. Precision also communicates confidence, as it signals that you have considered what you are saying and believe in its relevance. Limit emotional reactivity. Speaking impulsively in response to anger, frustration, or excitement often undermines credibility and causes conflict. Mindful communication requires regulating emotional impulses, observing reactions, and responding with composure. Controlled speech ensures that messages are intentional, constructive, and aligned with goals. Emotional control in dialogue builds respect and strengthens influence. Prioritize substance over volume. It is better to say less and convey more meaning than to speak continuously without focus. Each statement should contribute to understanding, decision-making, or relationship building. Redundant or off-topic remarks dilute authority and reduce the listener's attention. Practicing substance in speech reinforces credibility, reliability, and the perception of competence. Observe timing and context. Mindful communication takes into account when and where words are delivered. Consider the setting, the audience, and the emotional environment. Speaking at the right moment maximizes impact and ensures messages are received effectively. Context-aware speech demonstrates social intelligence and thoughtfulness, enhancing both personal and professional interactions. Ask clarifying questions when necessary. Instead of assuming or filling silence with conjecture, inquire to gather accurate information. Thoughtful questioning often contributes more than unconsidered statements. It promotes understanding, prevents miscommunication, and allows responses to be tailored with precision. Asking questions also signals attentiveness, respect, and analytical thinking. Practice restraint in sharing opinions. Not every thought requires expression. Evaluate whether commentary advances the conversation, aids problem solving, or enhances collaboration. Refraining from speaking unnecessarily preserves mental energy, reduces exposure to criticism, and maintains authority. The discipline of speaking selectively strengthens influence, as words are recognized for value rather than frequency. Integrate feedback into communication. Observe reactions to your words and adjust accordingly. Mindful communicators notice whether statements are effective or misunderstood and modify future speech. Reflection on outcomes builds awareness of personal patterns, strengths, and areas for improvement. This continuous learning loop reinforces the quality and impact of communication over time. Refine vocabulary deliberately. Choose words that are precise, professional, and aligned with intention. Language shapes perception. Careful word choice enhances credibility and clarity. Avoid slang filler phrases or habitual expressions that weaken authority or reduce comprehension. Mindful selection of language signals respect for both the content and the audience. Align tone with intent. Tone conveys emotion and shapes how messages are received. Ensure that tone complements meaning and reinforces purpose. Speaking softly, firmly, or neutrally at appropriate moments prevents misinterpretation and enhances persuasiveness. Thoughtful modulation of tone ensures that meaning is preserved and influence is strengthened. Use storytelling sparingly. Stories are powerful when they illustrate a point effectively, but overuse diminishes impact. Choose narratives that provide insight, evidence, or guidance relevant to the listener's needs. A well-placed story enhances understanding without overwhelming the conversation. Mindful communication balances demonstration with directness to maximize clarity and resonance. Practice brevity. Avoid over-explaining, repeating points, or adding unnecessary detail. Concise communication respects attention, reduces cognitive load, and increases retention. Each sentence should have a purpose and contribute to the overall message. Brevity demonstrates mastery of thought and the ability to convey meaning efficiently. Observe silence strategically. Pauses are valuable in allowing ideas to settle, providing space for others to respond, and demonstrating thoughtfulness. Silence is not emptiness, it is a tool that emphasizes key points, encourages reflection, and conveys confidence. Strategic pauses prevent reactive speech and elevate the quality of dialogue. Avoid argument for validation. Mindful communication focuses on clarity and understanding rather than winning or impressing. Seeking to prove oneself often results in unnecessary conflict, distraction, or reduced credibility. Prioritize meaningful contribution over ego-driven debate. Speaking to inform, guide, or support fosters trust and strengthens relationships. Reflect after conversations. Consider what worked well, what could have been expressed differently, and whether the intended impact was achieved. Continuous reflection builds awareness, improves future communication, and reinforces the habit of speaking less but with greater impact. Analysis of outcomes strengthens skill, confidence, and consistency. Finally, recognize that the quality of speech outweighs quantity. Speaking less with intentionality ensures that every word carries meaning, influence, and clarity. Mindful communication reduces noise, strengthens relationships, and preserves energy while maximizing effect. Practicing restraint, reflection, and deliberate expression cultivates authority, credibility, and trust, creating communication that resonates deeply and consistently achieves purpose. Chapter 19. Build patience by delaying reactions and choosing restraint. Patience is not a passive quality but an active discipline that strengthens decision-making and emotional control. Developing patience begins with recognizing that impulsive reactions often lead to mistakes, misunderstandings, and regret. Immediate responses are driven by emotion rather than reason and rarely serve long-term goals. Choosing restraint allows time for observation, evaluation, and deliberate action. Every moment of delayed reaction cultivates self-mastery, improves judgment, and builds resilience in both personal and professional life. Patience is a skill that compounds over time, creating stability, clarity, and confidence in situations that would otherwise provoke stress or frustration. The first step is awareness of impulses. Notice triggers that provoke immediate reactions. These may include anger, anxiety, excitement, or fear. Identifying situations where you feel an urge to respond quickly helps you prepare to act differently. Observation is critical because it separates conscious choice from habitual reaction. Awareness allows the mind to step in before emotion dominates behavior. Practice delaying responses deliberately. Even a short pause of a few seconds before speaking or acting creates space for reflection. Use that time to assess whether a reaction is necessary, constructive, and aligned with your priorities. Pausing transforms instinctive responses into thoughtful decisions. Over time, this delay becomes a natural habit, strengthening patience and self-control. Control over breathing supports emotional regulation. Deep, slow breaths signal the nervous system to calm, reduce tension, and create mental clarity. When patience is tested, focus on breathing to prevent impulsive reactions. Controlled breathing allows judgment to function effectively and prevents escalation of conflict or stress. Physical control reinforces mental restraint. Evaluate consequences before acting. Ask what impact your reaction will have on outcomes, relationships, or goals. Consider whether immediate expression will solve the problem or create complications. This reflective approach discourages impulsive behavior and prioritizes long-term benefit over short-term satisfaction. Deliberate evaluation enhances decision-making and demonstrates maturity. Separate emotion from action. Recognize that feelings are signals but not directives. Anger, frustration, or anxiety may suggest a response but do not dictate it. Pausing to interpret emotions allows for thoughtful choice rather than automatic reaction. This separation empowers control and ensures that actions reflect intention rather than impulse. Set internal rules for response. Decide in advance how you will handle common stressors or provocations. Having predetermined strategies reduces the likelihood of reactive behavior. Rules such as waiting 5 minutes before responding to criticism, reviewing facts before making a judgment, or refraining from speaking in heightened emotion create structure and predictability. Consistency in following these rules reinforces self-discipline and strengthens patience. Reflect on past situations to learn patterns. Identify moments where impulsive actions led to undesired results and analyze alternatives. Understanding past mistakes strengthens awareness and informs future behavior. Reflection converts experience into insight, turning challenging interactions into opportunities for growth. Learning from experience enhances the ability to choose restraint consciously. Practice empathy as a tool for patience. Consider the perspective of others involved before responding. Empathy slows reaction, reduces misjudgment, and fosters constructive communication. By understanding motives and emotions of others, you increase patience naturally. Empathy provides context that prevents hasty judgments and encourages thoughtful interaction. Incremental exposure builds tolerance. Deliberately place yourself in situations where patience is required. Start with manageable challenges and gradually increase difficulty. Experiencing small delays, minor frustrations, or interruptions in controlled environments develops endurance for larger pressures. Gradual exposure strengthens the habit of restraint and increases emotional resilience. Use mental reframing to support patience. Interpret delays, obstacles, or provocations as opportunities to practice self-control rather than irritants. Changing perspective reduces stress and encourages deliberate action. Reframing transforms challenging moments into productive training for restraint, enhancing composure and long-term effectiveness. Implement accountability systems. Track instances of impulsive reactions and measure improvement over time. Personal reflection, journaling, or self-assessment helps monitor progress and reinforces commitment to patience. Accountability converts abstract goals into tangible practice, allowing measurable growth in restraint and self-regulation. Develop self-awareness of physiological signals. Recognize tension, rapid heartbeat, or shallow breathing as signs of emotional arousal. Identifying physical indicators enables early intervention before reaction occurs. Mindful attention to bodily cues provides an additional layer of control, enhancing the ability to pause and respond thoughtfully. Practice strategic delay in decision-making. Not every choice requires immediate action. Waiting allows time to gather information, consider alternatives, and anticipate outcomes. Strategic patience improves quality of decisions and prevents errors made under pressure. Deliberate timing transforms routine actions into intentional and effective behavior. Emphasize long-term perspective over short-term impulses. Recognize that temporary discomfort or frustration does not justify immediate action. Consider how patience contributes to sustained goals, relationships, and personal growth. Long-term thinking reduces the urgency of reaction and strengthens the capacity for deliberate choice. Learn to accept uncertainty. Impulsiveness often arises from discomfort with ambiguity. Patience requires tolerance for incomplete information or unpredictable outcomes. Accepting uncertainty reduces anxiety, prevents hasty decisions, and allows for thoughtful action. Comfort with ambiguity enhances emotional stability and decision-making quality. Integrate reflection into daily practice. At the end of each day, review moments where restraint was applied successfully and areas for improvement. Reflection consolidates learning, reinforces habits, and maintains awareness of progress. Continuous assessment ensures that patience becomes habitual and self-regulation increasingly effortless. Cultivate inner calm through meditation or mindfulness exercises. Practices that train attention and awareness enhance the capacity to pause, observe, and respond intentionally. Mental discipline nurtures patience by strengthening focus and reducing susceptibility to emotional impulses. Mindfulness practices develop both clarity and resilience in the face of provocation. Recognize the compounding power of patience. Each moment of restraint builds self-trust, confidence, and credibility. Over time, consistent delay of reaction enhances reputation, decision-making, and personal influence. Patience produces cumulative benefits that exceed immediate gratification or impulsive action. It is a foundational skill for long-term success, emotional strength, and consistent achievement. Finally, understand that choosing restraint is a demonstration of mastery. It reflects control over self rather than circumstances, wisdom over impulse, and long-term vision over immediate reaction. Delaying responses and acting thoughtfully transforms challenges into opportunities, stress into clarity, and conflict into constructive resolution. The habit of patience strengthens resilience, sharpens judgment, and empowers consistent progress toward meaningful goals. Chapter 20a. Commit to consistent self-improvement without public approval. True self-improvement is an inward journey that thrives on consistency and discipline rather than recognition or applause. Growth that depends on the validation of others is fragile, subject to external whims, and easily derailed by changing opinions or social pressure. Committing to consistent self-improvement requires internal motivation rooted in personal values, long-term goals, and a vision for who you want to become. This commitment is not performative. It is deliberate, private, and ongoing. Each small action taken daily builds capability, resilience, and competence that accumulate over time into transformative change. The results of consistent effort are tangible but often unseen until persistence creates undeniable progress. Begin by establishing a clear framework for growth. Identify specific skills, habits, or knowledge that directly contribute to your long-term objectives. Focus on areas that matter most rather than what is fashionable or socially praised. Prioritize actions that compound over time, producing incremental improvement every day. Small consistent steps create momentum, and momentum fuels confidence, clarity, and sustained discipline. The act of improvement becomes a personal standard rather than a performance for others. Develop internal measurement systems. Instead of tracking progress based on external approval, evaluate your growth against personal goals and benchmarks. Journals, logs, or self-assessment tools allow for accurate reflection on development. Internal tracking ensures accountability without reliance on recognition or validation from peers. Over time, seeing measurable progress reinforces commitment and strengthens the habit of self-directed improvement. Consistency is the cornerstone of lasting growth. Progress occurs through repeated effort rather than occasional bursts of activity. Daily practice, reflection, and refinement embed skills and habits into routine behavior. When improvement becomes habitual, it no longer depends on external pressure to maintain motivation. Discipline overcomes fluctuations in energy, mood, or attention, ensuring steady development toward personal objectives. Embrace the discipline of quiet learning and practice. Pursue mastery without the need to broadcast accomplishments. Avoid seeking attention for progress or achievement. Focus on the work itself, not the audience. Quiet effort allows deeper engagement, more honest assessment of strengths and weaknesses, and freedom to make mistakes without fear of judgment. This privacy nurtures resilience and fosters authentic growth. Accept that results are often delayed. Consistent self-improvement rarely produces immediate recognition or tangible reward. The true value of private effort emerges gradually as habits, skills, and insight compound. Patience is essential. Avoid discouragement from lack of visible approval or acknowledgement. Focus on the cumulative effect of small, persistent actions rather than immediate outcomes. Prioritize personal standards over societal expectations. Define success by internal criteria rather than external opinions. Consistently ask whether actions align with long-term objectives, values, and vision. Decisions driven by personal benchmarks ensure that energy is allocated efficiently, avoiding distractions and irrelevant pressures. Living by internal standards strengthens self-trust and independence. Create a daily routine that reinforces growth. Dedicate consistent time for learning, reflection, and practice. Embed habits that align with long-term objectives. Avoid substituting effort for visibility and resist the temptation to perform for external validation. A structured routine strengthens self-discipline, reduces friction, and ensures regular advancement toward mastery. Reflect regularly on progress. Honest self-evaluation uncovers strengths, areas for improvement, and insights into personal patterns. Reflection fosters awareness and allows for course correction without reliance on external feedback. Insight gained through self-reflection is often deeper, more actionable, and more sustainable than advice or praise from others. Detach from comparison with others. Improvement is a personal journey, and comparing yourself to peers or influencers distorts perspective and motivation. Focus on your own trajectory, progress, and challenges. Tracking personal benchmarks and milestones cultivates a sense of accomplishment grounded in reality, rather than social perception. This focus prevents envy, distraction, and reliance on external affirmation. Recognize the power of deliberate repetition. Repeating actions consistently, even when unnoticed, develops skill, resilience, and self-confidence. Mastery is rarely achieved through sporadic effort or external recognition. Continuous practice and refinement transform average capability into excellence over time. Consistency, not applause, determines results. Manage energy and attention intentionally. Focus on tasks and habits that have lasting impact rather than those that are immediately gratifying or publicly admired. Protect mental space from distractions, notifications, or social pressures that undermine consistent improvement. Prioritizing high-value actions ensures that effort is meaningful and contributes directly to personal growth. Build resilience through private challenges. Confront difficulties, failures, and setbacks without seeking external sympathy or validation. Each challenge overcome independently strengthens problem-solving confidence and perseverance. Private achievement cultivates a deeper sense of competence and autonomy, reinforcing the value of self-improvement detached from public recognition. Cultivate self-motivation. Identify sources of inspiration and reinforcement that exist within rather than outside. Anchoring motivation in personal purpose, vision, and values ensures that effort persists, even when external feedback is absent or negative. Internal motivation is sustainable and provides the fuel for long-term commitment to growth. Integrate learning into daily life. Apply insights, skills, and habits consistently to real-world tasks and challenges. Practical application solidifies knowledge and reinforces self-reliance. Improvement becomes tangible and functional rather than abstract or theoretical. Each application provides feedback, strengthens competence, and drives further refinement. Maintain discipline in both success and failure. Consistent self-improvement is tested not only during progress but also in moments of stagnation or difficulty. Continue routines, reflection, and learning regardless of outcomes. Discipline creates momentum that sustains growth even when recognition, reward, or encouragement is absent. Avoid the temptation to seek immediate feedback or praise. External approval can create dependency, diminish intrinsic motivation, and distract from deliberate effort. Focus instead on personal assessment, reflection, and incremental progress. Long-term success is built quietly, with attention to consistent action rather than social validation. Understand that real value is created silently. Private effort, when compounded over time, produces skill, insight, and resilience that are often invisible until they manifest through tangible results. Those who commit to consistent self-improvement without seeking approval often surpass peers who rely on recognition or attention. Quiet dedication ensures that growth is authentic, durable, and deeply integrated into personal capability. Finally, committing to self-improvement without public approval fosters independence, self-trust, and long-term achievement. Growth becomes an internal standard rather than a social performance. Each deliberate action builds competence, confidence, and resilience. Over time, the accumulation of private effort transforms potential into capability and ambition into measurable accomplishment. True mastery emerges when effort is consistent, deliberate, and guided by personal vision rather than the desire for applause.